Renxue, I open a tavern and get Zhu Zhuqing drunk. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101 Female Body. Prince Zhu Zhuqing was blinded by greed and was instigated by Zhu Zhuqing head, so he subconsciously ignored the magic of the tavern. Now the matter is almost exposed. All kinds of fears surged in his heart. He was afraid. Even though he knew very well that Liu Chang'an had never shown signs of killing in anger, he undoubtedly had such power. When a person is alone with a lion, will he not be afraid just because the other party is kind? What's more, Prince Zhu Zhuqing was wrong first. Not to mention whether Liu Chang'an will take action. Let's just say that the group of war maniacs in the Xingluo Empire wanted to encircle the Wuhan Hall last time. Can they let the Qian Dou Empire go this time? And the Wuhan Hall has learned the lesson from the last time. Can it still rescue the Qian Dou Empire? Thinking of all the possibilities, Prince Zhu Zhuqing became more terrified. He looked at Zhu Zhuqing next to him angrily. It was because of this bastard's instigation that he did that. Papa. Wake up for me and tell me who sent you to steal the wine. Or did you do it yourself? Erming slapped Baichun a few times. These crisp sounds seemed to slap Prince Zhu Zhuqing in the face, and his heart was beating fast. He stared at Baichun, his heart in his throat. Baichun's sluggish eyes began to have spirit. Baichun looked at the window, speechless. It was obviously a paper-pasted window. How could it not be broken? And it also gave him a concussion. Baichun was full of resentment towards this window. Don't look at it, explain it quickly. Otherwise, you'll suffer. Erming rolled his eyes and urged. I wanted to steal the wine myself. Baichun said. Erming frowned and asked in confusion. You agreed so readily, it's probably fake. Baichun was stunned. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Prince Zhu Zhuqing was shocked. Can you not judge the case like this? Liu Chang'an smiled and said. I'll give you another chance. Tell me, is someone instructing you? Baichun looked at Liu Chang'an, opened his mouth, but did not answer immediately. Liu Chang'an still had a faint smile on his face. There was no pressure released at all. But Baichun didn't dare to despise it in his heart. He had a premonition that if he said the wrong thing, he would encounter a great crisis. But if he betrayed Prince Zhu Zhuqing, would it affect the family? Baichun was caught in a dilemma. Prince Zhu Zhuqing clenched his fists, looked at Baichun nervously, subconsciously held his breath, and prayed that the other party would not betray him. Otherwise, he would become a sinner of the Qian Dou Empire. Boss, I instigated this matter. He is just an executor. Suddenly, a peaceful voice sounded. Everyone looked over. It was Zhu Zhuqing. Seeing her come out, everyone shook their heads secretly. I didn't expect that the Qian Dou prince, who was known for his virtue, would be blinded by greed. Many people showed regret. Nine Fengzi frowned slightly. As Zhu Zhuqing's teacher, he didn't think Zhu Zhuqing could make such a mistake. Prince Zhu Zhuqing's face changed suddenly. What does this bastard want to do? As soon as Bibi Dong came downstairs, she saw Zhu Zhuqing coming forward to admit his mistake. She quickly came over, but did not dare to ask for mercy. Liu Chang'an looked at Zhu Zhuqing calmly and said, Oh? You come and explain it. Liu Chang'an raised his hand and pointed at Baichun. A white feather emerged from Baichun's body, and with a fluttering sound, he turned into a sharp-tailed swift and fell to the ground. This is your punishment, 1 month. Now, it's time to ask the mastermind behind it, Liu Chang'an said with a fake smile, looking at Zhu Zhuqing. In the tavern, he is omniscient and omnipotent. He can even see what happened in the past and naturally know the reasons. He asked them just now to give them a chance to redeem themselves. Zhu Zhuqing bowed and apologized. I did something wrong. Boss, I was greedy because of the effect of your wine, so I instigated Prince Zhu Zhuqing to send his subordinates to steal. Everyone was shocked again. Good guy, there is even a matter about Prince Zhu Zhuqing. Prince Zhu Zhuqing stood up with a dark face. He glared at Zhu Zhuqing's back, then bowed to Liu Chang'an and said, I was wrong. Boss, please forgive me. I am willing to make up for it at any price. Just please don't be angry, and don't take it to heart. Prince Zhu Zhuqing was extremely humble. He had been arrogant and domineering in the Qian Dou Empire all his life. Now facing Liu Chang'an, he pretended to be a grandson. Seeing his humble appearance, a group of people all smiled with gloating. Poison Douluo sighed, stepped forward and clasped his fists and said, "Boss." Zhu Zhuqing was just confused for a moment. "He respects you as much as anyone else." Nine Fengzi spoke for Zhu Zhuqing. "Boss, Kim He was greedy and should be punished. But this child is kind by nature, I hope you can give her a chance to change." Liu Chang'an had a half smile on his face. What a Zhu Zhuqing, what a Qian Renxue, who has been undercover in the Qian Dou Empire for so many years, can actually deceive Nine Fengzi. Zhu Zhuqing is exposing herself now. But she did not explain her real motive and still concealed something. Liu Chang'an's mouth corners slightly lifted. In this case, he will only punish half. "Well, my punishment for you is," Liu Chang'an blew a breath gently. Zhu Zhuqing in front of him was brushed by this breath. A piece of golden silk suddenly appeared behind her head. No, not gold and silk, but a head of golden hair. Her originally ordinary face suddenly changed, her eyebrows became narrower and longer, her nose became more slender, and her lips became smoother. It turned into a beautiful face that could overwhelm the whole country. Even the clothes on her chest were prucked up. A small piece of snow-white belly was exposed. She was actually exposed as a girl by Liu Chang'an. This is Liu Chang'an's half-punishment. He put Qian Renxue in the current situation. If he doesn't handle it well, the Spirit Hall will fail and be hated by the Qian Dou Empire. There is a high probability that a war will be set off. As for the reason why it is half, Liu Chang'an stopped there and would not tell the reason. It depends on whether there are smart people in the Qian Dou royal family. Qian Renxue was stunned for a few seconds, touching her smoother cheek, and realized what happened. Bibi Dong opened her mouth with mixed emotions in her eyes. There was relief that her daughter had grown up. There was fear. Once the plan of the Spirit Hall was exposed, it would definitely cause great suffering to the people of the continent. No matter how weak the Qian Dou Empire was, it would not tolerate the conspiracy of the Spirit Hall. The prince turned into a woman. So beautiful, she is like an angel. I didn't expect the prince to be so beautiful after the gender change. I'm in love, ma'am. Everyone marveled at Qian Renxue's beauty. Prince Zhu Zhuqing was slightly startled, always feeling inexplicable. Qian Renxue reacted quickly, and the panic on her face disappeared quickly. I was punished to become a woman? Boss, will this punishment last for a long time? Qian Renxue looked at Liu Chang'an worriedly. In fact, her soul bone that could mimic other creatures was also blocked by an unknown force. Chapter 102 Qian Dailu's Wish. Qian Renxue's voice was trembling. How could she be calm when she thought of the consequences of her identity being exposed? Everyone followed Qian Renxue and looked at Liu Chang'an. Could it be that the boss's punishment for Zhu Zhuqing was to turn her into a woman? If she was a woman, then Zhu Zhuqing would not be able to inherit the throne. Prince Zhu Zhuqing was surprised and expected Liu Chang'an to nod and say that the punishment would be permanent. That way he would win without a fight. Facing everyone's gaze, Liu Chang'an smiled slightly and shook his head. It can't be said. It can't be said. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Then they reacted. I understand, making Zhu Zhuqing worry is also a punishment. Qian Renxue looked into Liu Chang'an's eyes nervously and breathed a sigh of relief. No answer was actually the best answer. She still had room for maneuver. I was wrong first, so it's reasonable for the boss to punish me. Kim He doesn't have any resentment. It's just, I hope the boss can love all living beings and not let the Xingluo Empire launch an expedition against the Qian Dou Empire. We're willing to pay any price. Qian Renxue bowed deeply to Liu Chang'an and pleaded respectfully. Prince Zhu Zhuqing also said, we're willing to be punished and have no complaints. We just ask the boss to show some leniency. Facing their pleas, Liu Chang'an nodded gently and said, I don't have the authority to control the Xingluo Empire. But if they're willing to consider my opinion, I will tell them the truth. I don't want a war to break out on the mainland. Prince Zhu Zhuqing breathed a sigh of relief and raised his hand to wipe the cold sweat from his forehead. He almost became a sinner of the Qian Dou Empire. Kim He, your hair seems to be a little darker. Nine Fengzi suddenly said. His words also gave everyone a reason to look at Qian Renxue. Qian Renxue's exquisite and beautiful face, cold and noble, also has a sense of holiness. Almost all the men present wanted to observe her from head to toe. They pretended to be so because they thought that staring at Qian Renxue might cause trouble. Now that Nine Fengzi said so, they all looked at her casually. The hair color is darker. After changing into women's clothes, the frame is bigger, no longer as slender and thin as before. Fortunately, the daughter resembles her father, and Qian Renxue and Bibi Dong have no obvious similarities. For a while, no one will make random associations. Qian Renxue deliberately maintained Zhu Zhuqing's persona, found a silk scarf, wrapped her face, and smiled. Everyone, Kim He is in such an embarrassing situation today, I don't want to attract too much attention. Everyone retracted their gazes. Only Nine Fengzi was still staring at Qian Renxue's eyebrows. Faintly, he noticed something. It is impossible that everyone is a fool and Qian Renxue can easily get away with it. Liu Chang'an shook his head slightly, quite helpless. He didn't expect that Qian Renxue could really get away with it. Except for Nine Fengzi, who was suspicious, everyone else thought it was Liu Chang'an's bad taste. Well, who made Liu Chang'an perform so amazingly before? It is not difficult to change the gender of a man. Seeing this, Qian Renxue was eager to change the subject. He coughed lightly and said, "Boss, I want to challenge the worldly wine." "No problem." Liu Chang'an gave 3 bowls of worldly wine, while looking at Qian Renxue with a smile. Everyone shifted their attention and focused their eyes on Qian Renxue. Can the strongest great worshipper in the Soul Master world succeed in the challenge? No Soul Master can ignore it. After all, Qian Renxue represents the strongest combat power in the current Soul Master world. Qian Renxue felt relieved and the pressure was reduced. It's great that Grandpa can stand up at the critical moment. Grandpa's wish must be to resurrect the God of Angels, right? Qian Renxue also cast a curious look. At this time, Qian Renxue finished 3 bowls of earthly wine, his feet moved, and he almost fell to the ground. Everyone's heart was lifted up. Qian Renxue groaned, and his soul power burst out. In order to dispel the drunkenness, the gold and soul power penetrated his body, but nothing was forced out. 10 seconds passed quickly, and he finally did not fall down. Amazing! He is worthy of being a great priest. Didn't you find out? From beginning to end, the soul power of the great priest has not played any role at all. Idiot, that's a god, the boss is earthly wine. I want to know what the great priest's wish is. Maybe it can change the situation on our continent. ... There was a buzz of discussion in the tavern. The tavern finally produced another successful challenger. They couldn't calm down for a while. Ding! Qian Renxue successfully challenged the earthly wine. The host was rewarded with a first-level god puppet, the battle angel Michael, and a new wine, the supreme forgetful wine. The unit price is 30,000 gold soul coins, and the effect is as follows. Liu Chang'an summoned the puppet directly. A handsome man with wings on his back, blonde hair and blue eyes, his eyes are indifferent, and he despises the common people, but his sacred aura is hard to care for. Battle Angel Michael. As soon as he appeared, the tavern seemed to be shrouded in holy light. Qian Renxue was shocked. In the other party's breath, he felt the unparalleled sacred attribute. Angel, God. Qian Renxue was at a loss. Because his wish was not to resurrect the angel god at all. And how did this angel god become a man? Although he was very powerful. A flash of surprise flashed across Qian Renxue's eyes. Grandpa succeeded. He actually resurrected an angel. Everyone in the spirit hall was delighted. Anyone can sense that the breath exuded by the battle angel Michael is definitely not that of a mortal. Now that there is a god in charge, the so-called beast god has a check and balance. How can they not be happy? It is worthy of being a great worshipper. He can actually resurrect a god. Douluo praised loudly. Standing in front of this god, I feel like I can't breathe. Ghost Douluo looked at the battle angel Michael with lingering fear. Golden Crocodile Douluo frowned. He clearly remembered that the statue of the god of angels was a woman. Boss, my wish. Qian Renxue's mouth twitched. Could it be that his wish was really transformed into this? As the most loyal believer and the most pious of the god of angels, he would never resurrect the god of angels. The gods he looked up to still needed to be resurrected by himself. Then, what is the god of angels? Without the initial awe, the god of angels could no longer convince Qian Renxue from the bottom of his heart. If he does not resurrect, this belief will be sealed forever. You want Poseidon to be free from the control of Poseidon Island. It's a great wish. I will fulfill it. Go, Michael, help Poseidon cut off his connection with Poseidon. Liu Chang'an said to Michael. The battle angel Michael had no emotion. After responding, he turned into holy light and disappeared. Everyone present was stunned. That man is not the god of angels. What exactly is Qian Renxue's wish? Chapter 103 Evil Soul Beast Poseidon. Qian Renxue whispered softly. She had never heard her grandfather mention this name. Grandpa would rather not revive the angel gods than release him. What is the connection between the two? Everyone was puzzled. Nine Fengzi and Jian Luo looked at each other. They knew something. Poseidon and Poseidon Island were overseas, and except for a few people, no one knew the name of Poseidon. At sea, even Qian Renxue was no match for him. More importantly, Qian Renxue and Tang Chen, both the strongest in the world, fell in love with each other after making friends with Poseidon. Unfortunately, Qian Renxue's courtship was rejected. The person Poseidon loved was Tang Chen. Now, Qian Renxue has not let go of this relationship, and even his first wish is to set Poseidon free. Too good at licking. Liu Chang'an shook his head slightly. A licking dog will never catch up with the goddess, and at most he will get a good guy card. Liu Chang'an asked curiously, Mr. Great Priest, you should know that after Poseidon is free of shackles, he will probably not think of you, but will be ecstatic, and then go to find that person. Is it worth it? Qian Renxue smiled freely and transmitted his voice. At our age, are those still important? It doesn't matter whether there is a response or not. If she really loves Brother Tang, then let them be together. It can also be regarded as my gift. Liu Chang'an nodded slightly. In his heart, he called the battle angel Michael and told him to tell him that it was Qian Renxue's contribution when he helped Poseidon cut off the connection. If you want to buy other fine wines, you can buy them from the maid. Liu Chang'an smiled. Qian Renxue thanked him and went to find the maid Liu Chang'an to buy other fine wines. Even if he is as advanced as he is, he can't ignore the effect of wine. He bought all the fine wines at the counter. Drink it on the spot. Thinking of the scene of Poseidon and Tang Chen together, no matter how free and easy he said, he couldn't feel comfortable in his heart. Everyone looked at him with envy. Human joys and sorrows are not the same. Qian Renxue frowned slightly, still struggling with Poseidon's identity, and her grandfather's condition was not right. But she couldn't recognize him now. Qian Renxue took the initiative to challenge the worldly wine, and also intended to divert her attention. So, Qian Renxue ended upstairs quietly. Prince Zhu Zhuqing was about to follow. Liu Chang'an's voice came from behind. Although Mr. Prince was instigated, you were greedy after all. I will punish you to reduce the 6 desires for 1 month. Liu Chang'an said lightly. Prince Zhu Zhuqing followed Qian Renxue's movements and became slow. After entering the room, he looked indifferent, and his face was no longer worldly, like a cold statue of a god. Qian Renxue turned around and looked at Prince Zhu Zhuqing, and said indifferently, Uncle, why did you come in too? Prince Zhu Zhuqing looked cold and said dryly, Just now, I wanted to know your current situation. Just now. Qian Renxue frowned. She found that Prince Zhu Zhuqing was not right. Prince Zhu Zhuqing was a lively man and used to be a playboy. How could he be so deep as he is now? No, perhaps he should be described as indifferent and emotionless. Yes, just now, I'm not interested in these now. Prince Zhu Zhuqing hummed. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Qian Renxue was shocked. Did the other party change his nature? He had been competing with her openly and secretly before, but now he seemed to have a great enlightenment. Qian Renxue quickly guessed it and said suddenly, Uncle, you are also punished by the boss. Yes, but I don't think this is a punishment. Now I am without worldly desires, and I am the real me. Before, I was burdened by external things, Prince Zhu Zhuqing said indifferently. Qian Renxue's mouth curled up slightly. Prince Zhu Zhuqing's appearance was a godsend. Uncle, shall we go back to the palace first? Whatever you want, I have no idea. Prince Zhu Zhuqing replied indifferently. At the same time, on the first floor of the tavern. Seeing Qian Renxue's challenge succeed, Bibi couldn't help but stand up to challenge the worldly wine. Ziji couldn't stop him. Boss, I want to challenge the worldly wine. My wish is that only when the soul beast dies naturally, the soul ring will appear and then last for a long time. If I fail, I hope that the punishment can be applied to me alone, and not to implicate others. Bibi said seriously. Abi. Are you crazy? This cause and effect is too big, you can't do it at all. Ziji asked loudly. Bibi looked resolute, holding Ziji's hand, and smiled. Azi, even if we fail this time, we still have a chance. If I don't try, I really can't accept it. Ziji stared at Bibi for a long time and sighed. You're so weak, but once you insist on something, no one can persuade you. Only the boss can cure you. Bibi's face turned red, and she quickly picked up the 3 bowls of earthly wine in front of her and poured them into her mouth. Seeing this, everyone stared at Bibi. Once Bibi succeeds, it will be a major event that will change the entire Soul Master world. Soul beasts can no longer be hunted to obtain soul rings. The only way is to find dead soul beasts, which is too inefficient. But it must be said that this will reduce the mortality rate of both soul beasts and soul masters. Bibi's kindness can be seen from the fact that she can challenge with this wish. Success, Golden Crocodile Douluo said in his heart. Although he always treats the gang of fierce beasts coldly on the surface, he has been deeply impressed by Bibi since he was rescued by Bibi. If it weren't for the heavy burden on his body and the old age, he would have wanted to be Bibi's protector. Only with Bibi can the soul beasts not break with the soul masters. Bibi has finished the earthly wine now. Liu Chang'an did not use an hourglass, but counted the seconds himself. 10, 9, 8, 3 seconds passed. But in the hearts of everyone in the tavern, it became extremely long. Not only the soul masters, but also that fierce beast such as Qian stared at Bibi. You must succeed. Everyone called out in their hearts. Liu Chang'an was about to say the last second, but before he could say a word, Bibi fell straight forward. Ziji hurriedly hugged her and sighed. In fact, every face showed a pity. Ding! Bibi failed to challenge the worldly wine, and the punishment is to revive 1,000 evil soul beasts. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the magic skill Healing Divine Light. Liu Chang'an was slightly startled. This punishment was really tricky. Bibi herself was not punished. But it was definitely the punishment that Bibi was most reluctant to face. At this moment, a tiger roared into the tavern. Roar. The roar was no longer loud at this point. But the evil spirit wrapped in the voice, like countless small insects, drilled into everyone's heart. They felt cold all over. A sense of threat emerged in their hearts. Bibi's punishment is that the evil soul beast will be revived. Chapter 104 On Poseidon Island. The resurrection of the evil soul beast. An unfamiliar term appeared. Everyone in the tavern was stunned. The evil soul beasts and evil soul masters have been wreaking havoc on the world for thousands of years. It was so long ago that even the worshippers of the Spirit Hall could not remember it clearly. Only Qian Renxue, a die-hard believer of the angel god, changed his face and murmured, "Have they, those vicious guys, returned?" The fierce beasts such as Qian had also come into contact with the evil soul beasts. Ziji, who was holding Bibi, frowned and sighed. It's over. If Bibi knew that her failure had brought about such a disaster, she would definitely die of guilt. Qian Jun slapped his forehead and suddenly realized, it turned out to be the group of stinky eggs. Each of them is a lunatic. They were eliminated by the soul masters back then, and now they are back. Evil soul beasts. It turned out to be evil soul beasts. Evil soul beasts that once endangered the entire continent. They are powerful, cruel, and cunning. According to records, they can quickly improve their strength by killing. Qian Renxue explained with a look of misery on his face. During his explanation, everyone realized that they were in big trouble. The roar just now is just from an evil soul beast not far away, which made them nervous. But how many evil soul beasts are there in a whole continent? With so many evil soul beasts, how many lives will be killed? This will be a catastrophe for the whole continent. Everyone looked at the beasts with resentment. Someone whispered, "If you ask me, this is probably the sinister intention of the beasts. They did it on purpose." As soon as this argument came out, a large number of people quickly echoed it. That's right, that female soul beast pretended to be kind, but in fact she wanted to harm us. It's so hateful. Damn it, they are satisfied now. A dangerous atmosphere was brewing among the soul masters. They all resented the beasts, and Bibi, the culprit, was naturally hated by them even more. Qian snorted coldly, and his pair of vertical pupils slowly swept across these soul masters. The soul masters immediately kept silent. If we want to harm you, why do we need to awaken the evil soul beast? I can wipe you out by myself. You are so stupid. Emperor Qian said coldly. The soul masters broke out in cold sweat. Even if Emperor Qian did not use his aura, his own pressure was unprecedentedly strong. Golden Crocodile Douluo also said at this time, "This matter has nothing to do with Miss Bibi. She would not deliberately revive the evil soul beast. Because, the evil soul beast does not distinguish between soul masters and soul beasts. Just like the evil soul master organization that once ravaged the continent, the most killed were civilians. The evil soul beast is more harmful to ordinary soul beasts." Golden Crocodile Douluo stood up and said something fair. He knew Bibi's nature very well and did not want to see her misunderstood by the world. Second priest, the Spirit Hall was able to eliminate the evil soul beasts and evil soul masters in the past, so it should be able to maintain the safety of the soul master world now, right? Someone asked worriedly. Golden Crocodile Douluo smiled bitterly and said, that was thousands of years ago, and the main force was the nemesis of the evil soul beast, our great worshipper's family, the Angel Clan. And now, Golden Crocodile Douluo shook his head and glanced at Bibi Dong. Under the vicious hands of this woman, there are only 3 angels left, Qian Renxue, Qian Renxue and Qian Renxue. Even if they run their legs off, it is difficult for them to protect the Soul Master world. And the Soul Masters of other martial spirits will encircle and suppress the evil soul beasts. But it will be twice as effective. Nine Feng's expression was serious. The revival of the evil soul beast affected the entire Soul Master world, and no force could stay out of it. Boss, how many evil soul beasts have revived? Nine Feng's asked respectfully. 3,000. The lowest cultivation is equivalent to a soul saint, and because of its characteristics, at least 3 soul saints with rich combat experience can fight against one evil soul beast. Liu Chang'an replied. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Desperate numbers. Numbing combat power. Everyone present could not remain calm. Everyone turned pale, their hearts were beating fast. According to what Liu Chang'an said, it would definitely be a great catastrophe. Just when everyone was panicking, Bibi Dong suddenly said in a clear voice, the Spirit Hall went in the wrong direction before. It was my fault as the Pope. Now, it's time to set things right. Everyone turned their eyes to Bibi Dong. What does this mean? Facing everyone's doubts, Bibi Dong continued. The next focus of the Spirit Hall is to establish a legion and encircle and suppress the evil soul beasts. The Spirit Hall will no longer interfere in secular affairs, but stabilize the people's hearts, punish the traitors and eliminate evil. This is my promise, and it is also that future direction of the Spirit Hall. Bibi Dong spoke loudly and firmly. Everyone was silent for a few seconds after hearing this, and everyone showed surprise again. With the Spirit Hall taking the lead, the Soul Master world will not become a mess. The Spirit Hall's proactive actions and Bibi Dong's declaration also seemed to verify that they would not make trouble again. If there is no conflict with the imperial power of the Empire, the Soul Masters in the Spirit Hall will not have to be caught in the middle. Nine Fengzi looked at Bibi Dong in surprise. I didn't expect this woman to have such courage. Liu Chang'an continued. Evil soul beasts are both a disaster and an opportunity. Their soul rings are very powerful, and there is a high probability that soul bombs will explode. With a circle of evil soul rings, there is a high probability that you can become a titled Luo. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. The enthusiasm of the crowd was mobilized at once. With the Spirit Hall in front, they were not too afraid. For a while, everyone asked Bibi Dong what the Spirit Hall planned to do. Bibi Dong answered fluently, as if she had been prepared for a long time. Liu Chang'an smiled secretly. How could Bibi Dong not be prepared? It's just that her preparations were originally to deal with the 2 empires, and now they are just used on the evil soul beasts. In this way, the Spirit Hall, which has returned to the divine power, may really be able to find a smooth road. Sea God Island. A golden light crashed into the sky above the island, making a loud noise like a muffled thunder. Boom. The restrictions of Sea God Island were knocked open. Golden light floated above the palace on the top of the mountain, condensing into a figure, which was the battle angel Michael. He showed a huge silver sword with his strength. The tip of the sword pointed directly at the statue of Poseidon on the top of the hall. In an instant, a figure suddenly appeared opposite Michael, a graceful and elegant palace beauty. She was Poseidon, the high priest of Poseidon Island, holding a scepter in her hand. Staring at Michael with a pair of beautiful eyes, Poseidon asked coldly, "Who are you? Why did you break into Poseidon Island?" Under her, several figures flashed one after another, all of them were titled Luo. Michael looked indifferent, glanced at Poseidon, and said, "I'm ordered by the tavern owner to fulfill Qian Renxue's wish, break the shackles for you, and give you freedom." After Michael finished speaking, he slashed with a sword. The dazzling holy light immediately burst out in the air, mixed with unparalleled sharp sword intent. The whole world seemed to be blocked by the holy light. Bo Sexy also subconsciously raised his arm to cover his eyes. At this moment, a crisp sound rang in his ears. It seemed that something on his body disappeared. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 105 The Terror of the Evil Soul Beast. The holy light gradually dissipated. The sea god island returned to its original appearance. The shock on Poseidon's face has not yet dissipated. Her level 99 soul power is like a candle in the wind in front of the man with wings on his back. That is definitely not a mortal, but a god. Why did a god come to the sea god island? Poseidon clenched the scepter, her face solemn. As the high priest of the sea god island and the spokesperson of the sea god, she has always had a deep-rooted connection with the sea god. But now, that connection is broken. It means that she is no longer subject to the rules of the sea god island. She is free. High priest, what just happened? Sea Dragon Douluo and other holy pillar guardians gathered and asked respectfully. They just experienced the power of Michael, and now they are panicked, hoping that Poseidon can solve their doubts. However, Poseidon was also confused. But what tavern owner did that person talk about, and is he related to Qian Renxue? Poseidon narrowed his eyes slightly and guessed. At this time, in the northwest corner of Poseidon Island, two powerful soul powers collided, attracting everyone's attention. That's the territory of the Sea Witch. Sea Dragon Douluo exclaimed. Among the several holy pillar guardians, only the Sea Witch did not come, and now a battle broke out again. The aftermath of the battle was transmitted, revealing a disgusting breath. Poseidon took a step and walked in the air. One step crossed hundreds of meters, and after a few steps, she appeared in the source of the aftermath of the battle, a sea area. Below, a beautiful mermaid was fighting a black turtle on the shore. The black turtle was emitting black smoke all over its body, with spikes on its shell, and its round head was black and shiny. It was full of fangs and looked ferocious. It opened its mouth and spit out black lightning. Poseidon frowned and looked at the black turtle, wondering, what kind of soul beast is this? Why did it appear on Poseidon Island? Sea Dragon Douluo and other holy pillar guardians immediately besieged the black turtle. Several titled Douluo joined forces to fight a 10,000-year soul beast. It didn't take long for them to kill the black sea turtle. The sea witch patted her chest and said in fear, "This soul beast is so ugly. It chased me all the way and looked like it was going to eat me." Sea Dragon Douluo and others looked thoughtful when they heard this. Devour the sea witch. The most evil group of evil killer whales on the sea seemed much more innocent in front of this black sea turtle. Poseidon said lightly, "There is a ban on Poseidon Island. It was just because that existence destroyed it that it was allowed to mix in. However, such a fierce beast appeared in the sea, and it must be thoroughly investigated." Poseidon paused, turned around and disappeared. Everyone thought she would order Xiao Wu to investigate. After all, Poseidon Island only allows entry but not exit. No one knew that Poseidon was thinking about going out. She also wanted to understand the changes in her body. Meet an old friend. At the same time, the atmosphere in the tavern was lively. Although Bibi Dong was crazy at first, she was also an expert in brainwashing, otherwise she would not have been able to tie so many soul masters to her chariot. Now she used the backup plan she had made before to shift the blame to dealing with the evil soul beast. Instead, it seemed very natural and won the hearts of everyone present. Many people on the spot expressed their desire to join the Spirit Hall and work together for the Soul Master world. Bibi Dong opened the door to convenience. The Spirit Hall was the most famous in this tavern. Qian Renxue and other priests and elders remained silent and watched Bibi Dong's operation, but they were all very satisfied with it. They and the Spirit Hall will prosper and suffer together. If Bibi Dong did not go crazy and let the Spirit Hall move towards theocracy, it would at least be a very feasible way. The Xingluo Empire rejected the Spirit Hall before because the other party was in charge of the military force and was a force in the secular world that could compete with them. Now that the Spirit Hall has changed its track, it can greatly dispel the hostility of the Xingluo Empire. The Soul Masters from the two empires in the Spirit Hall are also very happy to see it happen. Qian Renxue nodded slightly and said secretly, "In this case, the best way out for the Spirit Hall is to regain its faith." Bibi Dong has really changed. Faced with the Spirit Hall being highly sought after, Nine Fengzi had to temporarily avoid the limelight. After all, the Seven Treasures glazed tile sect dare not carry the banner. Dong. At this time, a figure came in through the door of the tavern. The battle angel Michael. A second ago, he was still on the Sea God Island, and now he rushed back to the tavern at the speed of light. His face still had an emotionless look. The wings behind him were attracted. Michael came to Liu Chang'an in front of everyone's curious eyes, knelt on one knee, and said, "I have fulfilled my mission." Liu Chang'an smiled slightly. Although he knew that the other party was a puppet and had no emotions, he still nodded and smiled. "Not bad. My lord, I killed some hostile heretics on the road and got these." Michael spread his left wing, and dozens of black lights flew out. They were pieces of soul bones from different parts. They all exuded black air. An ominous aura was mixed in. When everyone saw them appear, they were stunned for a moment. Soul bones, they were not ordinary soul bones. More than 30 pieces appeared at the same time. Did Michael destroy the lair of some evil soul beast? Thinking of this, everyone's expression became relaxed. With Bibi Dong and the spirit hall as a guarantee, they felt much more at ease. Now they saw Michael casually taking out more than 30 pieces of evil soul bones. While they were envious, their fear of the evil soul beasts was also diluted. Someone immediately asked eagerly, "Boss, will you continue to take action? Wipe out those evil soul beasts directly?" Liu Chang'an shook his head and said, "No." Everyone was quite disappointed, but they were not too affected. Even if they didn't rely on the boss, they could drive away the evil soul beasts, not to mention that the evil soul beasts had been exterminated once. "Everyone, our spirit hall will go back to deploy first. Boss, we're in the room on the second floor, and we will renew it every day." Bibi Dong smiled. Bibi Dong, who has always been indifferent, has a time to smile brightly at people. Everyone present, or rather everyone in the spirit hall, was stunned for a moment. The Pope actually smiled. Not contemptuous, nor sarcastic, but a smile from the heart. "The sun is rising from the west." Liu Chang'an shook his head and said, "Sorry. The guest room must be checked in person to be effective, and only the fee for the day is charged." "Okay." Bibi Dong smiled bitterly and had to leave a few subordinates to help her occupy the room. Then, she led everyone in the spirit hall back to the spirit city. The core area of the Star Dou Great Forest. A black giant tiger appeared beside the lake, and its ferocious tiger head was reflected on the mirror-like water surface. A tail with a scorpion hook at the end shook gently. "Roar!" the dark demon evil god tiger roared in a low voice. Not long ago, his soul power suddenly soared and broke through 100,000 years. This time, it immediately came to the core area of the Star Dou Great Forest to find trouble with Tming and Derming. But when it ran over excitedly, the core area had long lost the aura of the two overlords. Chapter 106 Hours. The Spirit Hall left the tavern and headed for the Spirit City. On the way, when they passed through the forest, they encountered a roadblock. It was an evil spirit beast with black hair all over its body. A black giant lizard. It was much larger than a carriage. The scales were as black as ink, arranged layer by layer, and rippled with the skin, like waves. The tongue it spits out is pitch black, and saliva flows out, and it will corrode holes when it falls on the ground. The breath it exudes is very strong, and everyone's soul power is stronger, but they can't help but feel a chill in their hearts. This is the weirdness and power of the evil spirit beast. It's only 70,000 years old, but it gives me the feeling, I don't think old Ghost and I can take it down. Zhu Zhuqing laughed. Everyone didn't laugh at Zhu Zhuqing, and their expressions were solemn. Wihun can be placed on the Elder Order, and Zhu and Ghost also have a high status in the Spirit Hall. Even their combined efforts can't subdue this evil spirit beast. And there are 3,000 evil spirit beasts like this in the entire continent. And when everyone was thinking, the black giant lizard rushed over like a black lightning. It was extremely fast and silent, like a ghost. If it were a soul duo, it would probably be killed instantly if it was not careful. However, almost all the people present were titled Duo. Bipolar static field. Zhu and Ghost Duo shouted at the same time. The black lightning suddenly stopped when it was 10 meters away from everyone. The black giant lizard was still. The boss said that most evil soul beasts will explode soul bones, which are very powerful. I don't know what kind of magic this guy can have. Ling Yuan Luo said with a smile. Take it away and lock it up in the Wihun Hall for research. Bibi Dong ordered. Jin Crocodile Luo and others didn't say a word and couldn't move forward. Suddenly, a gust of fishy wind blew. Everyone retreated backwards at the same time to dodge the sudden malice. They looked over again, and saw that a black giant tiger appeared in the position of the black giant lizard, with wings on its back and a scorpion hook at the end of its tail. The dark demon evil god tiger bit off the throat of the black giant lizard. After a few bites, the black giant lizard's body was hollowed out. Roar! The dark demon evil god tiger let out a threatening roar, raised its tiger head, and looked very aggressive. The aura of the evil soul beast that was more than 100,000 years old was overwhelming and pressing on the people at the spirit hall. Da Ming and Erming were extremely powerful 100,000-year-old soul beasts, and the dark demon evil god tiger dared to challenge the dominance of the two beasts with less than 100,000 years of cultivation. Now it has broken through 100,000 years, the dark demon evil god tiger really has the ambition to devour the spirit hall. Bibi Dong narrowed her eyes, and a huge spider phantom appeared behind her. Others also summoned their spirits. This guy is very tricky. Golden Crocodile Douluo stepped forward, blocked in front of everyone, and confronted the dark demon evil god tiger. Qian Renxue did not join them, and secretly protected Qian Renxue. The 5 titled Douluos burst out with soul power, including a level 98 strongman. The dark demon evil god tiger looked at everyone deeply. With its wings flapping, the dark demon evil god tiger lifted off into the air and left. Seeing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Ling Yuan Douluo said with lingering fear. What kind of monster is that? If I face it alone, I feel that I will be killed. It's too powerful. Bibi Dong's face was solemn. The harm of the evil soul beast was stronger than she thought. The promise she made before might not be fulfilled. Your Majesty, look, a soul bone really appeared. Douluo exclaimed. Soul bone? Boss, you were giving us evil soul bones. This is too precious, right? Am I dreaming? In the tavern, the maids covered their mouths and exclaimed. Because Liu Chang'an actually wanted to give each of them one of the evil soul bones brought back by Michael. Soul bones are precious things. And high-level and evil soul bones are even more priceless. Not to mention the maids, even the onlookers showed envy and jealousy on their faces. Wrong covered her chest, it hurts. If she had won the election, she would have had an evil soul bone. Xiao clenched her teeth and rubbed her feet against the ground. Sister Xiao, stop pinching me, it hurts. Erming said aggrievedly. Liana shook her head and smiled bigly. She completely understood the feelings of these girls. I'm afraid that even if Ling Yuan Douluo was here, he would have lost his sense of proportion. Even Nine Fengzi, who never showed his emotions, had a stiff smile on his face. That's right, each of you pick a suitable one. Liu Chang'an nodded and smiled. Soul bones are useless to his strength. Michael brought back more than 30 pieces at a time. If he didn't give them to the little maid, they would have to be kept in the bottom of the box. Boss, can I give that soul bone to someone else? Erming scratched his head and smiled foolishly. Liu Chang'an nodded and said, of course you can. However, you can absorb this soul bone yourself, so there is no need to give it to others. Liu Chang'an looked at Ming and Erming, feeling helpless. Even if it is a soul beast, it cannot be a boiling sheep. However, he is only the boss, not the master, and will not interfere with their personal freedom. Erming chuckled and said, I have thought about it, and I still want to give it to Sister Xiao. Me too. Ming also said. Xiao blinked and waved her hand to refuse. How can this be possible? It is obviously yours, Sister Xiao, don't refuse, you need it more than us. And we're in the tavern, maybe we can get more treasures in the future. Ming persuaded with a smile. Xiao thought about it, looked at the two brothers with sincere faces, and nodded to accept it. Okay. Everyone was stunned. Evil soul bones. You just gave it to the little girl lightly? What kind of big-licking dogs are you? Of course, they only dared to slander in their hearts. Not to mention the strength of Ming and Erming themselves, just talking about the identity of tavern employees, they dare not act rashly. Liu Chang'an waved his hand, and more than 30 pieces of evil soul bones floated to the middle of the employees. You pick it. Everyone looked at each other for a while, and no one took action immediately. Especially Yan, she is in the current working environment, her former pride has disappeared, and she is even a little panic, afraid that she can't match the current treatment. At this time, Zhu Zhuqing stepped forward first and picked a 100,000-year-old right leg bone. With her leading the way, everyone stepped forward to choose soul bones. Everyone chose a 100,000-year-old one. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes were almost red with envy. Jian Luo's breathing was a little disordered. This formation is really too arrogant. It is estimated that it will not be long before the women on the mainland will have another ultimate goal, to be a tavern maid. At this time, a voice full of self-blame sounded. Boss, I released those evil soul beasts, it's all my fault, can you change the punishment? I can subtract 100,000 years of cultivation. Bridget looked sad, kneeling in front of Liu Chang'an and begging. Chapter 107 Dark Demon Evil Tiger. After Bibi woke up, although Ziji and other fierce beasts deliberately concealed it, they must know the punishment. Bibi was extremely tormented because of her fierce waves, which brought disaster. The kind-hearted girl could not accept this reality. She would rather punish herself 100 times or 1,000 times. Liu Chang'an looked at Bibi with a painful face, shook his head slightly, and said, "The punishment that has been made cannot be changed." Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Bibi's face was pale and she looked at Liu Chang'an in despair. Ziji and other fierce beasts breathed a sigh of relief. Compared with Soul Masters and other Soul Masters, Bibi, as a companion, is more important. Everyone stared at Bibi with complicated expressions. They could feel Bibi's sincerity from Bibi's unpretentious and true performance. This kind guy really repented. Thinking of this, their views on Bibi changed a lot. Some Soul Masters couldn't bear to see Bibi lost her soul. "Miss Bibi, you don't have to blame yourself too much. Things have happened. The Spirit Hall will handle it well, and the evil Soul Beast is also an opportunity for Soul Masters." The Soul Masters were really not panicked. With Bibi Dong's guarantee, and just now seeing Michael casually take out more than 30 soul bones. I thought the evil Soul Beast was some kind of weakling. Tears streamed down Bibi's face. She raised her charming little face, sobbing, "Boss, I want to make amends. What should I do?" Liu Chang'an pondered for a moment, nodded and said, "Challenge the earthly wine. But I must remind you, Bibi, you may not be able to persist. If you fail, it will make things worse. You can be more roundabout. Boss, what should I do?" Bibi asked pitifully. Liu Chang'an continued, "You can make a wish to gain the power to break the evil Soul Beast. They are soul beasts that have obtained evil power. If they can solve the evil energy, they can restore their nature." Are they victims infected by evil energy?" Bibi covered her mouth and asked in shock. As expected, Bibi began to be full of saintly heart again. Liu Chang'an explained, "Those evil soul beasts naturally did not appear out of thin air. Soul beasts that originally had evil tendencies will be infected by evil energy. This is also in line with their tendencies, but, if it weren't for me, they wouldn't be infected," Bridget said anxiously. Liu Chang'an was helpless. Everyone had different expressions. Bridget was too philanthropic, and it was not an exaggeration to call her the Saint Mother of the world. But, she was different from the Saint Mother bitch. The Saint Mother bitch always asked others to sacrifice, but was lenient to herself, while Bridget was completely the opposite. From the beginning to the end, she thought about solving it herself. "Boss, please tell me, how should I choose my wish?" Bridget asked pitifully. Liu Chang'an shook his head and said, "You can make a wish to enhance your skills, such as purifying evil energy. But as a tavern maid, do you want to leave your post?" Bridget lowered her head, bit her lip, and hesitated to speak. But her increasingly determined eyes. It has already foreshadowed her heart. Compared with the promising tavern maid, she is more willing to make up for her mistakes. At this moment, a bloody figure suddenly ran in from outside the door. He fell to the ground in a panic. A pool of blood appeared on the floor of the tavern. Help!" The man was out of breath, his face was frighteningly pale. Everyone's eyes changed, looking at the man in astonishment. "Zip! Didn't you join the Spirit Hall? You just left with them, how come you are like this? What happened?" Everyone was stunned. Niazi sat cross-legged on the ground, trembling all over. "Fuck, when we left, we encountered an evil soul beast, and then a black giant tiger. His Majesty the Pope asked me to come back to remind you, and I ran into the black giant tiger again halfway. It seems to be looking for someone. I was blown here by its breath and saved my life." Niazi looked lucky, he had walked through the gates of hell. Everyone was hesitant to speak after hearing this, not knowing where to start asking. Even the Pope of the Spirit Hall and other titled Douluo could not subdue an evil soul beast. How powerful must the evil soul beast be? This is so different from their fantasy. Deming suddenly asked, "Does that black giant tiger have wings and a scorpion hook on its tail?" Yes. Niazi nodded repeatedly, describing the appearance of the dark demon evil god tiger. Everyone listened carefully and nervously. The evil soul beast that even the Spirit Hall cannot subdue is coming to the tavern to kill. If there is no tavern to guard, they will be panicked. Erming shouted loudly, "Is it that sick cat? How dare it come to us?" It is less than 100,000 years old. How dare it come? Are those titled Luo in the spirit hall just eating dry food? It is obvious that it has been amplified by evil energy. Deming said in a deep voice. The dark demon evil god tiger is originally an evil soul beast. Now that it has been amplified, it is not surprising that it has broken through 100,000 years. Ermin rubbed his fists and pouted. That bastard dares to think about us brothers. Brother, we have been eating in the tavern for so long, let's go out and practice with it. Deming looked at Ermin helplessly and asked Liu Chang'an, Boss, do you have any instructions? Liu Chang'an smiled slightly and said, if you want to go, then go. Deming responded respectfully and left with Ermin. With them taking the lead, the customers in the tavern immediately followed. 9 Fengzi and Jian Luo took 9 Rongrong out. Qian Jun and other fierce beasts also went out. The tavern suddenly became much emptier. Liu Chang'an looked at Biji and smiled. Biji, what is your final decision? I'm sorry, boss, I must correct the mistakes I made myself. Otherwise, I will never forgive myself in my life, Biji said in a crying voice. Liu Chang'an nodded slightly and said, I respect your choice. However, since you cannot travel for the tavern, you cannot be a maid. Challenge the earthly bar as a maid for the last time. If you fail, the punishment will still be reduced. Biji bowed deeply to Liu Chang'an and said sorry. She stretched out her hand and a bag of gold soul coins appeared. Everyone shook their heads when they saw this. It was so stupid to give up working in the tavern for such a thing. But more people looked at Biji with admiration. At this moment, Biji's image was established in the hearts of the soul masters. They all believed in Biji. Biji drank 3 bowls of earthly wine in succession, refused Biji's support, looked at Liu Chang'an's toes with a firm look, stood quietly, and did not shake at all. 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, 1. Congratulations, Biji, your wish has come true. Liu Chang'an said lightly. Ding. Biji successfully challenged the earthly wine. The host gets a reward. Chapter 108. Battle of Behemoths. Ding. Biji succeeded in challenging the earthly wine. The host obtained the reward of divine skill, purification divine light. The original wine Putugaham wine has an upgraded effect, and the price has been raised to 100,000 gold soul coins. Liu Chang'an raised his eyebrows slightly. Biji is really a treasure. He got 2 great divine skills from Biji, healing and purification. It is estimated that there are not many gods in the god realm who can be called the god of medicine like him. Biji slowly opened her eyes and looked at Liu Chang'an. Thank you, boss. Biji bowed deeply to Liu Chang'an. In the challenge just now, she gained the ability to purify the evil soul beast. This is also a confidence for her to atone for her sins. Liu Chang'an smiled slightly and said, go and do what you want. Biji looked at Liu Chang'an gratefully and turned to leave the tavern. Daitian and other fierce beasts looked unhappy and hurried to follow. They all disagreed with Biji's operation from the bottom of their hearts. Isn't this giving up the broad road and taking the dark and narrow goat path? The people in the tavern didn't quite understand, but they respected Biji. Everyone knows that being a maid next to the boss has a promising future. But Bridget was able to turn around and resign to make up for her mistakes. Not everyone has this courage. When she left, the tavern was short of another maid. Many girls showed surprise. Now there is another chance. Before, a passerby female character Liu Kayun was able to apply for the job successfully, so why can't they? At the same time, outside the tavern town, Tamin, Erming and others just left the town and ran into the dark demon evil god tiger. The dark demon evil god tiger was running towards them. Looking at the figures of Tamin and Erming, the dark demon evil god tiger stopped, and the hook tail behind him swung, knocking down several large trees next to him. A pair of eyes full of evil breath looked at Tamin and Erming teasingly. Huh. You 2 bastards can actually transform into human form? Something is wrong, you can't practice so fast. And from the looks of you, you are still very harmonious in human society. The dark demon evil god tiger made a puzzled sound. Everyone looked pale. Facing such a fierce beast as the dark demon evil god tiger, their legs trembled and they almost knelt down in fear. If all evil soul beasts were at the level of the dark demon evil god tiger, they would only be in despair. Deming and Erming were at the front of the crowd. They both showed disdain when they heard the words. Erming shouted loudly, Sikat, do you think that you have had a wonderful encounter and have practiced for 100,000 years, so you can come and provoke us brothers? Don't dream. Just give it a try and you will know. I will devour you, and then go to the human spirit city and eat you all. The dark demon evil god tiger licked his lips, his face full of greed. Deming sneered. You are so arrogant, there is no point in talking more, go ahead. As Deming's voice fell, Deming and Erming burst into green light and black light respectively. Two huge figures burst out, a giant ape and a giant snake, and appeared at the entrance of the town. Roar. Erming returned to his original form of the titan giant ape, fiercely hammering his chest, and the bangs were like muffled thunder. Deming raised his head and let out a roar. Then, the two giant beasts rushed towards the dark demon evil god tiger at the same time. The dark demon evil god tiger was not afraid at all, and actually faced the two giant beasts. Bang! The hooked tail of the dark demon evil god tiger sent out a black moon blade, and the row of trees in front were all cut flat. The horns on the head of the sky blue bull python Deming released several blue thunders, colliding with the black moon blade. Boom! In the violent explosion, the airwaves rolled, and the sand and rocks flew. Many people watching the battle were blown away by this momentum. Sword Douluo and Poison Douluo released their soul power at the same time to block the aftermath for everyone. Only then did they protect their safety. At this time, the three giant beasts started close combat. Everyone watching the battle was stunned. The bodies of the 100,000-year soul beasts fought each other. This is not a scene that everyone can see. The strong aftermath of the battle forced Qian Renxue to lead everyone to retreat one after another, 100 meters, 300 meters, until they retreated 1,000 meters, they were safe. From time to time, there were stones and trees flying over. The ground never stopped shaking. Everyone was surprised. I didn't expect that Deming and Erming were really soul beasts incarnation. But they quickly accepted this reality and cheered them up. One evil soul beast is so powerful, how long will the remaining more than 2,000 evil soul beasts wreak havoc on the continent? Xiao put her hands in front of her mouth and made them into a trumpet shape. Deming. Erming. Defeat that sick cat. This battle lasted for half an hour. The three giant beasts were all wounded, and the ground was stained red. Even the titan giant ape, who had thick skin and flesh, has now become a red ape, his body stained red with blood, and the huge wounds on his chest and back can see the bone fragments inside. One of the horns of the azure bull python was broken. As a price, they pressed the dark demon evil god tiger under them. The dark demon evil god tiger's head was pressed to the ground by Erming, and one of its eyes was blinded by the electric shock. It roared unwailingly. Why? Why can you break through too? And why does your power carry the sacredness? Light. This shouldn't be the case. The dark demon evil god tiger spit out blood foam from its mouth, unable to accept this reality. What it didn't know was that Deming and Erming drank Paducah ham wine and other liquors in the tavern. Although the increase in soul power was not much, the overall increase in combat power was terrifying. It was 2 against 1 again. It would be strange if the dark demon evil god tiger didn't lose. Pa pa pa. At this time, the applause was thunderous. The people watching the battle dared to step forward, and they were all happy. Congratulations to the two gentlemen for defeating the evil soul beast. The two gentlemen are so powerful that they deserve to be chosen by the boss. With the two gentlemen here, the tavern town is safe. There is no need to be threatened by the evil soul beast. For a while, the sound of flattery was endless. The oppression and fear just now disappeared completely. The dark demon evil god tiger glanced at them, blew out 2 streams of air from its nostrils, and said coldly, "You two bastards, actually became human thugs?" Erming said proudly, "How can you, a sick cat, know how great the god we follow is?" Deming was more pragmatic, and wrapped his tail around the neck of the dark demon evil god tiger, saying, "Kill it." Okay. Erming clenched his fists and raised them above his head, ready to smash the dark demon evil god tiger's head. The dark demon evil god tiger did not show any fear. At the beginning of its tail, a small black hole was forming. At this moment, a voice sounded, stopping the 3 giant beasts from moving. "Deming, Erming, please don't kill it." Baiji floated up. The dark demon evil god tiger did not dare to act rashly, because behind Baiji, Daitian and other fierce beasts followed. When did there appear so many 100,000-year soul beasts in the Xingdou Great Forest? The dark demon evil god tiger was scared. Chapter 109. Tigress, Sister Bibi, you don't want to save this sick cat, do you? It's a bastard, Erming persuaded in surprise. Bibi maintained her human form, floated in front of Erming's eyes, nodded and said, "Yes, Erming. It's my fault that they can become what they are now. I have the responsibility to restore them to their original state. If he still doesn't repent by then, I will ask Daijian and others to destroy him again. So, I hope you can help me once, please." Biji looked sincere and put her hands together. Scratched his head and said, "Since Sister Biji said so, I will definitely listen to you." Deming also said, "Yes, we also admire Sister Biji. However, I also want to remind Sister Biji that before the evil energy attached, this sick cat was hopeless. The dark demon evil god tiger was originally a white tiger. It became the dark demon evil god tiger after being attached by the evil god. Therefore, it is a pure evil soul beast and will not be affected by strong negative emotions. It is very cunning. It was very careful when it devoured soul beasts before, so it was not caught. This time, it was infected by evil energy, so it became arrogant and was captured alive by Deming and Derming. Of course, it also has a backup plan." Hearing the conversation between Biji and Deming and Derming, a flash of emotion flashed in the eyes of the dark demon evil god tiger. The power it suddenly gained was brought by the Biji. What exactly happened? The dark demon evil god tiger did not dare to act rashly now. It sensed the breath of fierce beasts such as Daitian. Even in its heyday, it would never escape from these fierce beasts. "What are you talking about? Did you bring the power in me?" The dark demon evil god tiger stared at Biji and asked. Biji raised one hand, and the palm of her hand emitted a green light. When she turned it down, the light fell on the dark demon evil god tiger like a drizzle of rain. Biji explained, "Yes, this matter started because of me." Biji respected the dark demon evil god tiger's right to know. While treating and purifying the other party, she did not forget to explain to the other party. The dark demon evil god tiger was hit by green light. It wanted to run away, but its injuries recovered quickly, and a warm feeling surged from its heart. The warm feeling made it not want to leave. Moreover, after listening to Biji's explanation, the dark demon evil god tiger's mind was too confused. Could it be that the owner of the tavern was the evil god who had descended on it? No, the changes of Deming and Derming were different from its own. The dark demon evil god tiger's mind was in a mess for a while. It didn't even notice that as its mind became more and more clear, its negative emotions became less and less. But, wanting to purify me is really a dream. The dark demon evil god tiger shook his head and sat up from the ground. Deming and Derming were no longer suppressing him. They both changed into human form. Under the light cast by Biji, their injuries were also healed. The dark demon evil god tiger sat up and looked at them with disdain. The arrogant 100,000-year-old soul beast actually became a running dog at the tavern. If it were it would rather die than have its neck tied with a dog chain. "What's that look in your eyes? Are you looking for a fight?" Ermin said angrily. The dark demon evil god tiger snorted coldly. Under the cover of the green light, it was like taking a bath, and the dirt on its body was washed away, revealing its white true face, and even a bit of holiness. It is a white tiger itself. It is also the symbol of the Xingluo royal family. Everyone watched the dark demon evil god tiger being cleaned little by little, and their eyes were straight. It originally exuded an invincible evil aura, but now there is none at all. They even have the urge to stroke the cat. This soul beast looks tiger-like at first glance. "What are you all looking at me for? And, why doesn't the green-haired female soul beast continue?" My voice. The dark demon evil god tiger found something wrong. Its voice changed, and it was not as hoarse as before. It glanced out of the corner of its eye and found another problem. The color of its front legs turned white. It blinked, turned its head, and scanned the area. Its entire body turned white. Pure white, spotless. It had completely turned into a white tiger. Moreover, its evil energy had also disappeared. You, what did you do to me?" The dark demon evil god tiger looked at Biji in horror. Biji landed on the ground, smiled at the dark demon evil god tiger, and said, "I have purified all the evil energy in you. From now on, you will no longer be affected by them. Be a kind soul beast, otherwise, roar." The dark demon evil god tiger growled anxiously. Without the evil characteristics, it could not gain power by devouring other soul beasts. Subconsciously showing its fangs, it wanted to threaten Biji and then restore itself. "Little cat, are you looking for a fight?" The bear king's big claws gently scratched, and a hissing sound came out in the air, and the breeze seemed to be cut. The dark demon evil god tiger calmed down immediately. It couldn't beat him at all. Looking at Biji's gentle smile, the dark demon evil god tiger's nervous and confused heart suddenly slowed down, and it said, I understand. Biji smiled and said, okay, I believe you'll change for the better. Wow. It turned out to be a tigress. Erming stood under the dark demon evil god tiger and shouted in surprise when he couldn't find that tiger whip. The dark demon evil god tiger has now returned to being a white tiger, and it has also acquired a sense of shame. It quickly clamped its tail, bared its teeth at Erming on the ground, and said coldly, you're a waste who has become a running dog, you are not qualified to talk to me. Erming was scolded, but he didn't care at all, instead he looked proud. What's wrong with being a dog for the boss? Look at what changes we have made now. Erming said proudly. The dark demon evil god tiger took a closer look. Soul beasts, especially those after 100,000 years, all carry karma. The more karma, the more severe the heavenly tribulation every 100,000 years. Like the dark demon evil god tiger, it has killed too many people and has a lot of karma. Even a level 98 titled Douluo may not be able to survive the 200,000-year heavenly tribulation. Moreover, karma will naturally grow. Even if the soul beast does nothing, it will continue to accumulate. However, the karma on Da Ming, Erming and Biji is pitifully small. When they encounter the next heavenly tribulation, it is estimated that it will not be as strong as the first heavenly tribulation of an ordinary 100,000-year soul beast. How is it possible? The dark demon evil god tiger was stunned. This is what you call the salary of being a dog? What do you think? We brothers can also become gods. And the boss respects us, not treating us as slaves. Erming said with his head raised. The dark demon evil god tiger showed envy, which flashed by. It didn't want to admit defeat. Boast. Didn't he let you come here to protect humans? No, we decided to come out and beat you. If we want to deal with you, the boss can crush you to death with just one finger. Why did we come out? Erming said carelessly. The dark demon evil god tiger blinked, then looked at Bridget, who made him feel at ease, and suddenly he had an idea. Chapter 110 Big Move. The dark demon evil god tiger is quite intelligent. Seeing the changes in Da Ming and Erming, she immediately had an idea. She couldn't submit to others. But if the other party is a god, then there is no problem. And it must be a powerful god. Even the changes that happened to her not long ago are caused by the god. Her brain is not rusty, how could she ignore the great god? Being a dog. What's wrong with being a dog for a god? The dark demon evil god tiger looked at Biji and said, I have realized my mistake and want to submit to the god. I hope you can introduce me. Everyone had different expressions when they heard this, and there was a weird look on their faces. This white tiger is not stupid, and the idea is really good. But, can you surrender to the tavern owner just because you want to? Even the maid at the time, even the elders of the spirit hall, failed to compete successfully. What right do you, a soul beast, have? Erming laughed loudly, pointed at the dark demon evil god tiger and shouted, are you hitting yourself in the face? The dark demon evil god tiger ignored Erming's ridicule. What does she need a face for? If she can successfully become the tavern owner's subordinate, she would be willing to be a middle school dog. Bridget shook her head slightly and sighed. Sorry, I can't introduce you. I have resigned from the position of tavern maid. If you want to get something from that boss, go and challenge the earthly bar, which can satisfy all your wishes. Earthly wine. The dark demon evil god tiger repeated. Erming puffed up his chest, as if looking at an ignorant country beast, and said proudly, you don't even know about earthly wine. It's really funny. Tell you, the dark demon evil god tiger's eyes lit up when he heard it. What if my wish is to become a god? Erming smiled coldly and said, as long as you can succeed, of course you can. Whoever the boss wants to become a god, even if he is a puddle of mud, can become a god. The dark demon evil god tiger was even more fascinated by the words. She decided to join the tavern and become the boss's dog, no, an employee. However, as a white tiger, she couldn't be like Ming and Erming. She had her own accent. The dark demon evil god tiger was thoughtful. He paused for a moment. Roar, boss, I was once a white tiger, but was possessed by an evil god. I got evil attributes and became a dark demon evil god tiger. Now because of your power, I want to be a mount. The dark demon evil god tiger roared, and the sound went through the forest and went in all directions. Everyone looked at the dark demon evil god tiger strangely. Good guy. This soul beast is smart enough. He also knows how to create demand for the boss. Although the boss can appear directly at any location on the continent, it is also very cool to have a white tiger mount. Everyone present thought that if they could have a white tiger mount. I'm afraid I have to drag her around every day. So cool. However, its roar echoed in the forest for a long time. There was no reply. The dark demon evil god tiger gradually revealed a disappointed mood on her big round head. She was not discouraged, and was still looking in the direction of the tavern. Ermin laughed and said, "Sick cat, do you think you can be recognized by the boss so easily? Stop being clever." A trace of unwillingness flashed across the dark demon evil god tiger's eyes. 100,000-year soul beast was willing to become a mount, but it couldn't make the god tempted. Moreover, she was a white tiger. The dark demon evil god tiger paused for a moment, enjoying the teasing eyes of everyone. It seemed that everyone was laughing at her. After all, did the boss really take you in casually? If it was so easy, then almost everyone present would be willing to give up their status and become the boss's subordinate. How could it be the turn of a soul beast? The boss is merciful. If you can atone for your previous crimes, perhaps the boss will look at you differently. Bridget smiled slightly and rescued the dark demon evil god tiger. The dark demon evil god tiger just raised its front foot and planned to go to the tavern to ask about it, but now it was invited by Bridget. She put down her front paws again and nodded, "Okay." BG smiled more cordially, floated forward, and patted the dark demon evil god tiger on the head. "Please take care of me in the future." The dark demon evil god tiger nodded gently. She had never thought that she had originally planned to come here to Devardaming and Ermin, but she was purified instead. She failed to worship the gods, and had to find another way to do good things for the beasts. Her day was too bizarre. Everyone looked at Biji and other fierce beasts going away, and many people were relieved. When the dark demon evil god tiger fought with Taming and Ermin, the terrifying power it exuded almost scared them to pee their pants. This is human nature. Now that they saw that the dark demon evil god tiger was influenced by the tavern and turned to the light, they were much less afraid. While Biji and other fierce beasts went to find the evil soul beast, Bibi Dong and his group finally returned to Hun City. Bibi Dong convened a supreme meeting, and the participants were at least platinum bishops, and there were many representatives of the leaders of the Soul Master Corps. Several great priests were also present. Seeing Bibi Dong wielding all her might on the stage, attracting representatives of the legions, the priests all looked unhappy. Because Bibi Dong had actually gathered such a huge group of forces in private. What on earth did she want to do before? From now on, the Spirit Hall will return to divine power and will no longer interfere in the mundane world. The power developed before will be used to resist the evil spirit beasts. I hope all the soul masters of our Spirit Hall can fight for their country and honor. Bibi Dong's voice echoed throughout the hall. After a while, another round of applause came like a wave. We're willing to support His Majesty the Pope. The order of His Majesty the Pope is the direction of our lives. Fight for His Majesty the Pope. The voices in the hall were boiling. They all responded to Bibi Dong's proposal. If it was not necessary, how could they be willing to hurt the country they were born in? Now they are fighting for the Soul Master world. This is the sublimation of faith. They will naturally burst out with the greatest enthusiasm. Therefore, the Spirit Hall launched a siege against the evil soul beasts. At the same time, in the Tiando Palace, Qian Renxue and Prince Zhu Zhuqing also came back and reported many things in the tavern. "Father, this matter is all because of me." Qian Renxue took the initiative to admit a mistake. Emperor Zhu looked at his son who had turned into a daughter, and sighed. "King Head, what kind of temper are you, father, don't you know? This matter must be your uncle's stupidity." Emperor Zhu glared at Prince Zhu Zhuqing. Prince Zhu Zhuqing was very aggrieved. It was obviously Zhu Qinghe who took the initiative. You can't turn black and white just because she turned into a daughter. Qian Renxue had already figured out Emperor Zhu's temper, and deliberately belittled herself a few times, trying to take the responsibility on herself. Emperor Zhu didn't believe it even more. He thought Qian Renxue didn't want to destroy the uncle-nephew relationship, so she did it. "King Head, don't worry, no one can shake your position before I die." Chapter 111 missed the point. Royal brother, but now King He has become a girl, how can she be the crown prince? Prince Zhu Zhuqing was anxious. Now is a good opportunity, how can we miss it? Emperor Zhu stared at Prince Zhu Zhuqing with a sullen face, and asked coldly, "Are you teaching me to do things?" "I dare not." Prince Zhu Zhuqing apologized and lowered his head. Qian Renxue stood quietly beside him. Seeing Prince Zhu Zhuqing being humiliated, she was neither happy nor sad. Because, she knew very well that the reason why Emperor Zhu Yi was like this was because he was still unwilling to admit his old age. She became a girl, and her competitiveness for the throne was weakened. Emperor Zhu Yi was happy to see it happen. In this way, his position as an old emperor would be more unshakable. There is no family affection in the imperial family. Whether father and son, brothers, they are all competitors. Emperor Zhu Yi retracted his gaze from staring at Prince Zhu Zhuqing, and said lightly, "Since you have determined that the magic of that tavern is true, then, go and challenge that, mortal Da. Fight for our heaven and rebuild our glory." Emperor Zhu Yi was radiant and heroic. If he could successfully challenge the mortal wine, and continue his immortality, wouldn't he be able to be the emperor for life? Emperor Zhu Yi held such an idea. At this time, Qian Renxue said, "Father, the evil soul beast will return to the world and will surely set off a killing, then let the troops to suppress it." Emperor Zhu Yi was not interested. How many people could the evil soul beast kill? Even if half of them died, would it be important to have his immortality? If his status was not too noble, he would want to challenge it in person. The Spirit Hall and the two empires have launched measures against the evil soul beast. But, in fact, their effect is very poor. 7 days later, the Spirit Master Corps of the Spirit Hall in various places only killed 3 evil soul beasts, with heavy casualties. And the two empires are even worse. The army of the Xingluo Empire almost destroyed an evil soul beast, but it still escaped. The Tiandou Empire was just a runner-up. Not only did they fail to kill the evil soul beast, but they almost mutinied. The evil soul beast is really too powerful. They are also cunning. Facing the title duo level masters sent by the Spirit Hall, they all hid and did not dare to face them. Once the title duos were lax, the evil soul beasts were like sharks smelling blood, and they immediately rushed over to attack. Among them, Ling Yuanluo almost died because of his greed for merit and recklessness. It can be seen that the evil soul beasts are cunning and cruel. The evil soul beasts are not satisfied with soul beasts, and about 300 of them are thinking about humans. It also caused 1,000 villages and about 100,000 people to die tragically. For a time, the entire continent was surrounded by the terrifying atmosphere of the evil soul beasts. The Soul Master world, which was once overly optimistic, now has to ponder. 3,000 evil soul beasts, do they still have hope? Even with the efficiency of the Spirit Hall, it is difficult to completely solve it within 10 years. Spirit Hall. Bibi Dong, who received another report, crumpled the report in her hand into a ball, exerted hard force, and turned it into small pieces of paper, which flowed out from her fingers. Asshole! Are those evil soul beasts so cunning? Bibi Dong was furious. When she learned about the ordinary people who were poisoned by the evil soul beasts, she could easily think of the villages she came from. She was annoyed when she thought that she could not protect them. The elders and platinum bishops in the hall lowered their heads like quails when they heard Bibi Dong's roar. No one dared to speak. Although Bibi Dong did recover from her mental illness. But who can guarantee that she will not commit it again? The deathly silence lasted for 3 minutes. A delicate voice sounded. "Godmother, I think we did something wrong." Bai Xiaoxi's voice was very low, but in the hallway you could hear a pin drop. It was like a candle in the dark. All of a sudden, everyone's eyes were focused on her. Facing her adopted daughter, the coldness on Bibi Dong's face melted immediately. She smiled and said, "Xiao the 11th, do you have any ideas?" "Godmother, I was thinking, why don't we make a wish like the boss uncle? If the boss uncle is willing to help, then it won't be a problem. Besides, we can split the problem up. It should be easier for everyone to make a wish to kill an evil soul beast." Bibi Xiaoxi blinked her big eyes and said unconfidently. She was thinking. Since the problems all came from the tavern, they must be solved in the tavern. Bibi Xiaoxi's words, however, awakened everyone. They all forgot that they could use the power of the worldly wine. Bibi Dong smiled and said kindly, "Xiao the 11th is really smart. That's right. Let's gather a group of people who were hurt by the evil soul beast and take them to the tavern." On the way to the tavern town, more than a dozen members of the Minzu clan, possessed by the sharp-tailed swift martial spirit, were like white dogs moving at high speed in the air. The soul beasts below heard the wind and looked up, but they couldn't see anything. Because at this time, the Minzu clan had already left for several miles. They are fast, but they can also talk while flying. Grandpa, was my second uncle really turned into a soul beast by the tavern? It's incredible, isn't it? Bai Qingxiang leaned against Bai He and asked in confusion. Bai He hummed and glanced at a sharp-tailed swift not far away. Yes, the tavern is probably a miracle of a god. Then what are we going to do, Grandpa? Bai Qingxiang asked curiously. Bai He did not answer. To put it simply, they wanted Bai Chun to return to his original form, apologize to the tavern, and beg for forgiveness from the owner. The reason for doing so was that the partners of the Yu clan reminded that the Xingluo Empire seemed to be considering destroying the Ming clan. Bai He was numb when he heard the news. It was obviously Bai Chun's action alone, and the tavern owner didn't care much. Why are Yu Xingluo still holding on to it? Where can they go to reason? However, they can only admit their weakness and plan to beg the tavern owner for forgiveness. Thinking of his old face, he would probably be laughed at and slapped in the face by Liu Chang'an. It would be strange if Bai He could be in a good mood. A quarter of an hour later, all the Ming clan members came to the door of the tavern. Then they found an embarrassing situation. The tavern was too popular. Even though that door was spacious, drunks were carried out almost every moment, but there was still a long queue. Bai He sighed when he saw this and looked at the line that was more than 300 meters long. Let's get in line. Bai He took the lead and hung behind the line. The members of the Ming clan looked around curiously. What kind of magic could attract so many people? Is that worldly wine really that magical? Bai Qingxiang was thoughtful. She was the most optimistic among her clan members because she didn't realize the seriousness of the problem at all. This line lasted for an hour. The people of the Ming clan finally entered the tavern. The scene inside the tavern. 3 maids were like butterflies, serving fine wine to customers. Customers who challenged the worldly wine would have an hourglass shadow behind them. Bai He looked for a long time and found a situation. No one challenged successfully. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 112. Let's go to the tavern, Grandpa. The inside of this tavern seems to be much bigger than the outside. Bai Qingxiang stood on tiptoe, looking at the lively scene in the tavern, and said with a smile. The other tribesmen also noticed this situation. Everyone's eyes flashed with surprise. Bai He nodded slightly and said, "This place is said to be a miracle sent by the gods. It is reasonable to have such a performance." Bai He's heart is close to the consensus on the mainland. The owner of the tavern is a real god. The tavern and the earthly wine are miracles. No matter what magical things happen, as long as they are related to the tavern, they can be explained. If I can succeed in the challenge, can I get a lot of money? In this way, our Min family will not have to cut back on clothes and diet. Bai Qingxiang thought naively. Among the 4 single attribute families, the Min family is the poorest. The treasury of the entire family is just over 3 digits, and sometimes it is only a few dozen gold soul coins. If not for this, Bai Chun would not work for Prince Zhu Zhuqing. Bai He heard a gloomy look on his face. He looked into the tavern. At this time, more than 30 people were carried out. They were all drunkards who challenged the worldly wine and got drunk. The queue of the Min clan was not slow, and they were moving towards the door. Half an hour later, they finally arrived. The moment he stepped into the tavern, Bai He perked up and prepared to be slapped in the face. He suddenly felt a little lucky. Fortunately, the other 3 old friends did not come first, otherwise it would be too embarrassing to see the scene of being slapped in the face. After entering the door, Bai He said to the clan members, "You watch more and talk less. I will take Bai Chun to apologize to the boss." Bai He gritted his teeth and approached Liu Chang'an. A spike-tailed swift landed on his shoulder, well behaved. Behind them, Bai Qingxiang also followed quietly. They came to the counter. Many people noticed them. Because Liu Chang'an had said before that unless he was in the wing, he would not host the worldly wine challenge, and the maid would be responsible for it. Now Bai He went there rashly. Many people were ready to fight, thinking that if Bai He didn't behave, they would rush forward. Maybe this would leave a good impression on the boss. Of course, Bai He didn't dare to act rashly. He stopped 1 meter in front of the counter, bent down deeply, and almost bent his body in half. "Boss, the crime committed by Bai Chun." Bai He humbly apologized and begged Liu Chang'an for forgiveness. The sharp-tailed swift on his shoulder also fell to the ground and knelt like a human. Everyone was quite disappointed when they heard this, and shook their heads in silence. Bai Qingxiang, who was behind Bai He, was deeply shocked. The grandfather who would rather break than bend. Now he almost knelt down. Why? Bai Qingxiang was stunned, his worldview was impacted, and he couldn't react for a while. Liu Chang'an waved his hand and smiled. Don't be like this. If you are worried that Xingluo will harm you, then you can tell them that I have forgiven you a long time ago. Liu Chang'an smiled helplessly. Xingluo Empire now respects him too much. Anyone who disrespects him will almost certainly be punished by the Xingluo Empire. During this period, there were 3 or 4 people who came to beg for mercy almost every day. Even if someone failed in the challenge and just complained a few words about the boss's double standards, he was targeted by the Xingluo Empire. Is there any other way? Liu Chang'an was casual, because it was just a small matter of his words. But for the Min clan, it was a matter of life and death. Bai He was stunned for a few seconds before reacting. He couldn't believe it immediately, the whole thing was too easy. He thought he would encounter difficulties and even lose his freedom. After all, the Min clan was the fastest on the continent. But Liu Chang'an didn't say anything more. He waved his hand and told them that everything was solved. Liu Chang'an didn't take them seriously at all. Thank you, boss. Bai He smiled bitterly and suddenly realized that he took himself too seriously. Bai He turned and stepped back with a strange look on his face. Liu Chang'an really didn't care about the Min clan. He just glanced at Bai Qingxiang twice more. This little girl was staring at him in a daze. Boss, you have a beautiful woman around you, why are you looking at that little girl? A charming voice that sounded like big breasts rang out. Zhu Zhuqing put her proud thing on the counter, her soft flesh spread out, supporting her clothes, like a big steam bun. Liu Chang'an frowned. If you have something to say, just say it. How can you be so disrespectful? Liu Chang'an resisted the impulse in his heart. He didn't look at Zhu Zhuqing's evil. During this period, Zhu Zhuqing also seduced him in various ways. He was also very sad. Boss, Bridget has resigned, and the tavern is short of a maid again. What do you think of me? Zhu Zhuqing blinked and stared at Liu Chang'an fierily. You? Stay here honestly. Liu Chang'an's mouth twitched. Are you running for a maid, or do you want to be the boss's wife? Don't you think he doesn't know? Boss, you can't look at people with old eyes. Zhu Zhuqing complained, her voice was like a kitten calling for spring. Liu Chang'an shook his head and had nothing to say. He closed his eyes and listened to the continuous system prompts. His soul rings are now over 100,000 years old, and he is working hard to reach 1,000,000 years. His strength outside has reached the peak of the 3rd level god. On the other side, 100 miles away from the tavern town, a group of burly soul masters all turned into powerful gorillas and besieged a hippopotamus evil soul beast. Bang bang bang. These big muscle gorillas are extremely violent. Fearless of death, their big fists are like raindrops on the hippopotamus evil soul beast. At the same time, although the hippopotamus evil soul beast is only a 70,000-year-old evil soul beast, it is still strong under the siege of this group of big muscle soul masters. The big mouth opened, and the 4 white teeth snapped shut. They are the Power Clan, and the head of the family, Titan, is a soul Duo, whose strength is even stronger than that of ordinary titled Duos. Bang! With a powerful punch, Titan's fist made a sonic boom. It hit a tooth of the hippopotamus evil soul beast fiercely. Crack! The teeth of the hippopotamus evil soul beast broke. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Titan was shocked that he couldn't kill the other beast. The hippopotamus evil soul beast went berserk, shook its head violently, and knocked Titan away fiercely. Titan flew backwards, bleeding in the air. The hippopotamus evil soul beast rushed towards other members of the Power Clan again. It was like a train running. All the members of the Power Clan were knocked away. How dare you, beast! Titan's eyes widened with anger. The elites of their Power Clan were all here. Are they going to be killed by an evil soul beast? Titan's eyes were bloodshot, and he ran in front of the hippopotamus evil soul beast again, blocking a fatal blow for a member of the clan. Bang! Titan flew up again, but he couldn't fly away. The hippopotamus evil soul beast bit his thick arm. Chapter 113 Hope No. Tano collapsed to the ground, screaming in pain, watching his father die in the mouth of the evil soul beast. At this moment, something strange happened. A silver light suddenly shot out. It hit the neck of the hippopotamus evil soul beast. And the hippopotamus evil soul beast screamed in pain and let go of its mouth, and Titan escaped triumphantly. The hippopotamus evil soul beast turned its head suddenly, and its small eyes with a pair of black eyes looked in the direction of the attacker. They were 3 soldier low-level strongmen. Among them, there was an aura that made him extremely disgusted. The hippopotamus evil soul beast looked at them with hatred and ran away quickly. A few seconds later, the 3 soldiers rushed to the place where the Li clan fell. The Tiando royal family they were responsible for protecting were the 3 Mengqingji from the Tiando Royal Academy. They were all soldier low level, and they knew each other more or less. Mengqingji came to Titan, pressed his chest, and breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, only a few ribs were broken, and the lungs were not seriously injured. Titan sat on the ground, panting softly, and grinned. If you hadn't come, we would probably be finished. Hey! The first time we encountered the evil soul beast, you taught us a lesson. How could Titan not sigh? If it weren't for Mengqingji and the other 2 coming, the Li clan would be finished. Brother Meng, what are you doing? Titan asked curiously. Mengqingji smiled gently and said, we're here to escort the princes. After all, it's not peaceful outside. Not only that, even all of us will be wiped out by an evil soul beast. If it harms the city, I'm afraid. Titan shook his head and sighed. At this moment, he was sincerely worried about the Soul Master world. As long as the evil soul beast doesn't come out, the Soul Master world, and even the entire continent, will be restless. Mengqingji and the other 2 also sighed repeatedly. It's fate, maybe this is the catastrophe of the Soul Master world. However, we are not without hope. Titan's eyes widened. What? Make a wish to the tavern. As long as the challenge is successful, the current situation can be changed. Mengqingji's expression was firm. How is it possible? Titan muttered to himself, not knowing what he was doubting. Mengqingji smiled bitterly and said, this is the only way. In fact, even the Spirit Hall cannot effectively curb the harm of the evil soul beast. All major forces, including the Spirit Hall and the Xingluo Empire, must send representatives to the tavern to try to challenge the world wine. This may be the only chance. Mengqingji looked in the direction of the tavern, and his voice became more and more firm. Titan was silent, and he thought of his old friend Bibi. Can we only rely on that tavern? Titan was unwilling to accept it from the bottom of his heart. Boom! A blue water tornado fell from the sky, washing the forest on the ground and plowing a deep gully. In the center of the gully, a black trunk bone was quietly suspended. The devastating blow just now. A 90,000-year-old evil spirit beast was killed in an instant. A beautiful woman in palace dress fell from the sky, holding a scepter, with silver hair scattered behind her head. Poseidon turned his head and looked to the right. Since you are here, why hide? As her voice fell, a burly figure in golden armor appeared. It was the great worshipper Qian Renxue. Qian Renxue, who was a generation of executioners, was detached from the world. At this moment, facing Poseidon, a hint of shyness flashed across his face. If the worshippers of the Spirit Hall saw it, they would probably be shocked. You can come out. Qian Renxue smiled. Poseidon narrowed his eyes slightly, stared at Qian Renxue, and said coldly, it is related to you. What's going on? Poseidon's tone was like facing an old friend. In fact, it was exactly the case. At their level, the only people who can be treated equally by them in the world are each other. Even if the 2 of them did not become lovers. They are also very good friends. Qian Renxue explained everything that happened in the tavern without hiding anything. Poseidon listened patiently and frowned. You mean, the tavern owner can drive a god? And he has created a god? Poseidon could no longer remain calm. Michael broke through the restrictions of Poseidon Island and gave her freedom. It was enough to prove that Michael's power was no longer inferior to Poseidon. But such a person was just an employee of the tavern. Not to mention that Liu Chang'an had created a beast god. Poseidon knew some inside information and knew that soul beasts could not become gods at all. This was almost a ban in the world of gods. But now, Liu Chang'an has changed this situation. So, how great is Liu Chang'an? Poseidon fell into deep doubts. Qian Renxue struck while the iron was hot and said, now the evil soul beasts are causing trouble for the continent. Poseidon, I have the same idea as the current Pope of the Spirit Hall. We challenge the earthly wine to curb the danger of the evil soul beasts. Are you willing to watch it with me? Put this kind of thing on drinking. Poseidon's eyes twitched. Although she knew what earthly wine meant, she still couldn't help but feel absurd. Qian Renxue nodded slightly. At first, it was difficult for him to accept it, so he understood Poseidon's feelings. Okay, let's go together. I also want to ask him what he is going to do. After creating the evil soul beast, does he want to kill the soul master world? Poseidon's voice was filled with a hint of anger. Qian Renxue's heart skipped a beat. Don't do anything stupid, Poseidon. Tavern. Liu Chang'an looked up and looked at the door. Zhu Zhuqing, Lyra and other women had been paying attention to Liu Chang'an, and they also looked over when they saw this. At the door of the tavern, a group of new people came in. The leader was Zhu Zhuqing, who was punished to become a girl. He led Meng Qingji and the other two and walked in quickly, finding a seat near the counter. The members of the Power Clan went to join them in clan. It looks like there will be big business. Liu Chang'an smiled slightly. Qian Renxue hadn't challenged him last time. After a while, another group of people came in. The representatives of the Xingluo Empire, led by Prince Diao. They were like iron-blooded soldiers, marching in unison, and came to Liu Chang'an's counter and saluted. They found a seat and sat down, just next to the Qian Dou imperial family. At this time, everyone in the tavern stopped their actions and looked at the representatives of the two empires. At the same time, the two empires were alarmed, and the two sides lived in harmony and sat together. Such a scene is extremely rare. A few minutes later, another round of footsteps sounded. The Wihun Hall, led by Bibi Dong, came to the tavern and sat directly between Qian Dou and Xingluo. On both sides were the Kaibaoli sect and the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family. The second row was the lower four sects. Further back, there were also major forces, such as the Four Elements Academy, the Dragon and Snake families. In the hall, almost all the famous forces in the entire continent gathered at once. Even the Ocean sect had a Tang Yui coming with the Qian Dou Empire. It was crowded, but extremely quiet. No one challenged the Chen Shijiao now. Everyone wanted to see how far it would develop. Chapter 114 For the peace of the continent. The evil soul beasts are endangering the entire continent. Our sect was breached by the evil soul beasts. Half of the people died. A victim cried. A stone stirred up 1,000 waves, and everyone began to talk about it, especially the soul masters who had been persecuted by the evil soul beasts. Our city is fine, there are soul master core from the spirit hall come in, but many people in the surrounding villages also died. The spirit hall suffered many casualties before killing the evil soul beast. The evil soul beast is too scary. We can't deal with it at all. Yes. Qian Dou, Xingluo and the spirit hall all said they would fight against the evil soul beasts, but it's just a drop in the bucket. For a while, there were complaints in the tavern. The noise was getting worse and worse. Ermin glared and roared, "Shut up." No noise in the tavern. Ermin's roar drowned out the discussion. Everyone shut up. But everyone's face was filled with unspeakable sorrow. The world suffers from the evil soul beasts. The tavern was quiet. Some people, however, could not sit still, such as those who came from afar and only heard about the magical power of the tavern. Titan of the Power Clan felt a little uncomfortable when he saw Ermin scolding them like a grandson. In addition, their Power Clan was almost destroyed by the evil soul beast. They were so angry. The harm caused by the evil soul beast is too bad. The omnipotent Tavern, why doesn't it just wipe them out? Titan asked in a muffled voice. In fact, many people have this idea. The evil soul beast was created by Liu Chang'an. If the tavern really cares for all living things, how could it release such a disaster? However, no one dared to agree with Titan. Don't worry about your life. Prince Diao of the Xingluo Empire slowly turned his head, looked at the people of the Power Clan coldly, and remembered them. Qian Renxue of the Qian Dou Empire frowned slightly. The guys of the Power Clan are really ignorant. I shouldn't have taken the initiative to save them at the time. I couldn't subdue them, but might cause trouble. Meng Qingji received Qian Renxue's signal and retreated to find that Power Clan. Douluo at the Spirit Hall sneered and said, "Is it your turn to question? Power Clan, it seems that you haven't learned enough lessons." Titan's face sank, and he said coldly, "The Spirit Hall is still as domineering as before. It doesn't give people a chance to explain. It's so unjust, Hilly. The 4 single attribute families were beaten badly by the Spirit Hall back then. They have old grudges." Douluo heard the dissatisfaction in Titan's tone and laughed. "Old gorilla, it seems that you are still confused. Back then, it was the Ocean sect that kicked you out, leaving you for us in the Spirit Hall to vent your anger. You don't hate the Ocean sect, but hate us instead. You are such a good dog. I heard that you, the Power Clan, are the best at recognizing your master. Back then, you, an old guy, recognized Tang Ao as your master. Chidluo's tone was full of sarcasm. Titan's face turned pale and he was squeezed to the point of being embarrassed. Back then, the Ocean sect was indeed more excessive. But he didn't want to publicly belittle his old master. Last month, the second worshipper at the Spirit Hall told us about the grievances of the past. Before, I thought that the Spirit Hall was unkind and overbearing, but now I support the Spirit Hall. That's right, Tang Ao's idea of wanting privilege is wrong. If everyone has a reason to protect the soul beast, then won't our soul master world be infiltrated by soul beasts very quickly? Unless the soul beast that transforms as Miss Bridget, for a moment, half of the people in the tavern were supporting the Spirit Hall. Seeing this, Titan's face changed and he said that the situation of the Ocean sect was over. In this way, even if the Ocean sect came out later, it would not be able to occupy the righteousness, but would be pointed at by the world. Silence. Deming said in a deep voice. The noise in the tavern soon subsided. At this time, a pleasant voice sounded. I think that we are gathered in the tavern now. All we want is to get rid of the threat of the evil soul beast. Doing other things is a bit of a waste of time. Tang Yuiho stood up and glanced at everyone. She has a very beautiful figure, big where it should be big, thin where it should be thin, and exudes a graceful and elegant temperament. When she speaks, it is like the beautiful moonlight. Everyone's attention is attracted. Qian Renxue also said, yes. We have the same demands. Whatever grudges you have, at least put them aside here. We want to challenge the worldly wine for the sake of justice. Qian Renxue said righteously. Everyone nodded secretly, indicating that they agreed with this statement. Then, who will go first? After seeing enough of the excitement, Liu Chang'an took the initiative to step forward and scan the people at the table in front. He was going to host the Worldly Wine Challenge in person. Everyone looked at each other and did not move for a while. They were all waiting for those big guys to make the first move. I will do it. For the sake of the people of this world, no matter what I give up, I can still bear it. Menchunji stood up and said obligingly. Pa. For a while, there was thunderous applause. Now is the time to change the fate of the Soul Master world. Everyone who steps forward to challenge is a hero. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Menchunji drank 3 bowls of earthly wine, and the wine bowls fell to the ground. He gritted his teeth and said in a muffled voice, I want to make all the evil soul beasts disappear. Disappear, 10, 9, 8, 7, when Liu Chang'an counted to the 4th second. Menchunji staggered and fell. Ding! Menchunji failed in the challenge of earthly wine, and punished it. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the divine skill dream-telling technique. Liu Chang'an shook his head slightly, what a pity. It was extremely rare for Menchunji to last until the 4th second. After all, his wish was too big. Menchunji's failure poured a basin of cold water on the enthusiastic people. Over at the Wooden Hall, Bibi Dong frowned slightly and stared at the ground, obviously thinking about something in a trance. Yes. She was thinking, how could she succeed? A wish like Menchunji's. It was too grand and almost impossible to achieve. Otherwise, Biji would not leave to atone for her sins. Godmother, if the evil soul beasts are no longer evil, then wouldn't they be ordinary soul beasts? Baishiaxa whispered. Bibi Dong's eyes lit up, that's the truth. At this time, behind her, a figure in a white robe came over. It was Saras, the leader of the believers of the Tavern cult. Supreme Honorable Boss, I want to challenge the earthly wine and seek peace for the people of the world. Saras said with a pious face. Of course, with his scheming, the work on the surface must be very safe, but when it comes to details, don't forget that when he first founded the cult, he thought he would be appreciated by Liu Chang'an. Saras challenged the earthly wine and drank 3 cups in a row. Liu Chang'an didn't count the seconds. No matter how righteous he said, Saras didn't want to do that at all. The probability of his challenge being successful, bang. Saras fell down and lost consciousness. It took a total of 4 seconds. Ding. Saras failed to challenge the earthly wine, and was punished by losing his cultivation for 7 days. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a god-level soul ring. Chapter 115 Bridget's reputation. Everyone was speechless. Seeing the appearance of Sirulf, dressed in a white robe and quite dignified, they thought there would be a turnaround. But this is it. Liu Chang'an's mouth twitched, and he looked at Sirulf lying on the ground helplessly. This guy is just a speculator, and he doesn't have a strong wish at all. Even if he can only reduce the number of evil soul beasts by 1/10, he can't hold on. Ermin lifted Sirov's shoulders and wanted to take him out of the tavern. When he passed the door, he stopped. Because a beautiful woman in palace dress came into the tavern, holding a scepter, with the vast breadth of the sea. Poseidon frowned and looked at Ermin. 100,000-year soul beast? Isn't this tavern a place for gods? Why would it accept soul beasts? Poseidon was wondering, standing in front of Ermin without moving. Ermin frowned and said in a rough voice, "Hey! Get out of the way quickly, don't block the way, or you'll get out." Poseidon stared at Ermin coldly, and was about to say something. Qian pulled her arm to get out of the way. Both sexes, don't go against the rules of the tavern. He represents the tavern, give him some face. Qian shook his head slightly while transmitting the message. Both sexes suppressed her temper, and a hint of irritation flashed in her eyes. Her impression of the owner of this tavern became worse and worse. I even suspect that those evil soul beasts are the conspiracy of the tavern. If that's the case, I would rather die than break this conspiracy. Both sexes made up her mind. If that's the case, she would meet Tang Chen first, and then perish together. Qian didn't know that both sexes, whom he had rescued with great difficulty, had already made up his mind to die. He took both sexes to the table of the spirit hall. They sat at the same table with Bibi Dong. Both sexes whispered, "Two people have failed. When will we challenge?" Qian shook his head and said, "Let's see first." At this time, Nine Fengzi of the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile sect stood up and proposed loudly. "I think we should divide the wish of exterminating the evil soul beast into small parts. For example, I only need to kill one evil soul beast. At the same time, friends who were persecuted by the evil soul beast can also come up to challenge, and perhaps they can make some achievements. Of course, this is just my personal opinion." Nine Fengzi bowed slightly to show his humility. His proposal was immediately adopted by everyone. Several soul masters whose families were destroyed by the evil soul beast came forward to challenge the earthly wine. They all looked sad and their eyes were firm. But, ding! Liu Chang'an failed to challenge the earthly wine, and he was punished to sleep for 7 days and 7 nights. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the requiem. Ding! Lin Xian failed to challenge the earthly wine, and her appearance was punished to decrease by 30%. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the rejuvenating fruit. ... Without exception, all the soul masters who came to challenge failed. They also did not have the power to exterminate the evil soul beast. Not only did they have fear of the evil soul beast, but their wishes were too big, and they were all heading for extinction. More than a dozen people failed, and the tavern fell into silence again. Liu Chang'an did not urge them, and waited for them quietly. Anyway, these people won't run away. Moreover, Liu Chang'an is already invincible on the mainland. As long as he doesn't leave the tavern, even the god realm can't do anything to him. Staying in this world is just to see the lively scenery. Lacking a strong goal to drive him, he can calm down and won't be rushing like other travelers. It's over. Is there no hope for us? If the evil soul beasts can also reproduce, I'm afraid the entire continent will become their paradise. What else can we do? ... Many people sighed and their mentality collapsed. If they were not in the tavern, they would probably get up and make trouble. At the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile sect, Nine Fengzi frowned slightly and said to Qian Renxue, "Uncle Qian, how many can you challenge with confidence?" 15, I can only guarantee this. Qian Renxue nodded. Wait and see, Nine Fengzi sighed. Even a strong man with a firm mind like Qian Renxue can only wish for 15 evil soul beasts to disappear. The number of times a person can challenge the earthly wine is limited. Nine Fengzi thought that 15 evil soul beasts were not enough to waste Qian Renxue's challenge opportunity. It would be great if Miss Bibi was here. Suddenly someone mentioned Bibi. Bibi's performance in the tavern made everyone ignore her identity as a soul beast and the fact that the evil soul beast was caused by her. They were all moved by Bibi's kindness. When they mentioned Bibi, their words were full of admiration. It seemed that once Bibi came back, she would definitely succeed in the challenge. Who is Bibi? Poseidon asked curiously. Qian hesitated and said, "It is also a fierce beast, but so, it was because of that fierce beast that the tavern released the evil soul beast? People here don't hate her?" Poseidon asked in astonishment. Qian nodded gently. Not only did he not hate it, he almost loved that fierce beast to death. Even Golden Crocodile Douluo was not immune to this. Not long after returning to Ahun City, Golden Crocodile Douluo went out. Others did not say the reason, he just told Qian the truth and claimed to be Miss Bibi's protector. Nonsense. a soul beast, do you really think she is a god? Poseidon's voice was subconsciously louder. She was at the front, and the volume suddenly increased. Many people heard it and focused their attention. Qian Renxue immediately pressed Poseidon's shoulders and forced her to nod slightly to Liu Chang'an. Sorry, boss, we're rude. Liu Chang'an smiled slightly and didn't care. Qian Renxue breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Poseidon helplessly. I know this is incredible, but remember the current situation. Qian Renxue didn't say it clearly, and blinked at Poseidon. Indicated to look around. Why these people don't hate Bibi, a big reason is because they know. It was the tavern that decided to punish Bibi. In other words, the real pusher of this catastrophe was the tavern owner. Bibi is innocent. Poseidon still couldn't accept it. She could accept the king of the demon soul Great White Shark because the other party had a history with the sea god. Now Bibi, a soul beast, is loved by the soul master world. You were not affected by it? Poseidon still asked doubtfully. Her doubts attracted many indignant looks. If this place was not a tavern, if they could not defeat the spirit hall, they would have come up to teach Poseidon, the outspoken woman, a lesson. Although Poseidon is also very beautiful. But in the eyes of those soul masters who are conquered by Bridget's temperament, appearance is just a passing cloud. I say. How can anyone still doubt Miss Bridget? At this time, a steady voice sounded. Everyone turned their heads to look at the door, and a burly figure in golden armor walked in. It was the rough-faced golden crocodile Douluo. I want to see who still doubts Miss Bridget. I can explain for you, golden crocodile Douluo said carelessly. Chapter 116. Beta Sea Wine. Golden crocodile Douluo was impressed by Bridget and became her brainless fan. He couldn't stand others questioning Bridget. Golden crocodile Douluo looked around and saw a beautiful lady in palace dress standing up. His sight was fixed on her. He ignored the familiar figure next to the woman. It was also because Poseidon's aura was too strong, which could naturally attract people's attention. Who do you think Miss Bridget is? Although she was born as a soul beast, her kindness is beyond the reach of humans. You should have heard of the Emerald Swan clan, right? Golden crocodile Douluo spoke directly. Poseidon frowned. She really hadn't heard of the Emerald Swan clan. So what? Poseidon stared at golden crocodile Douluo. His clothes were somewhat similar to Qian Renxue. At first glance, he was a worshipper at the Spirit Hall. Even the Spirit Hall, which protects the altar of the Soul Master world, have turned to the side of the Soul Beast. Poseidon felt more and more uneasy, and his face turned cold. However, she and golden crocodile Douluo were both people of high status, and their words were tit for tat, but they were not like shrews scolding on the street. Deming and Derming ignored them. Everyone else looked at their confrontation with expectation. The verbal fight between the top strong men. But it was rare to see. So what? Ha, it seems that you are really ignorant. The so-called Emerald Swan clan is the most peace-loving clan. Golden crocodile Douluo looked at Poseidon with disdain. This woman's soul power is unfathomable, but her vision is so short-sighted. Poseidon frowned. She hated the look in golden crocodile Douluo's eyes. After listening to golden crocodile Douluo's narration, Poseidon realized what race that girl Bibi was. Again, so what? The lifespan of a soul master is extremely limited. Even a titled Douluo like her at level 99 can't live for 1,000 years. But those fierce beasts can easily live for tens of thousands of years. Even if the fierce beasts can be kind for a while, 100 years, 1,000 years, or 10,000 years, who can guarantee that they will never change? If there are no strong soul masters by then, wouldn't that endanger future generations? Can't you accept the principles of your spirit hall? Poseidon said coldly. Golden crocodile Douluo blushed. The words he used to mock Tang Ao at the time, now fell on him. He felt the pain. He really couldn't refute it. Just like Tang Ao also believed that Ian would never hurt humans, how could he guarantee Bridget? Okay, now we're challenging the world wine for the common people. You can talk about the topic later. Qian Renxue came out to ease the atmosphere. Golden crocodile Douluo responded awkwardly and went forward to sit in the seat of the spirit hall. Poseidon sat down and ignored golden crocodile Douluo. Her fingers tapped lightly on the scepter. She was thoughtful. She had just won the debate with golden crocodile Douluo, and she had a sense of confidence. Maybe she could also win without fighting through words. Make the tavern owner change his mind and take back those evil soul beasts. Then she would be considered to have done a great deed. Poseidon looked at Liu Chang'an, that overly young face, the time engraved in his eyes was not as good as his own. Is he really a god? Poseidon muttered in his heart. Seeing this, Qian Renxue vaguely realized Poseidon's thoughts. Don't try to guess the boss. I don't want to see you punished. The boss's power is something we can't see clearly. If you insist on doing it, you will only put yourself in an embarrassing situation. Qian Renxue persuaded patiently. Poseidon hummed, his expression was indifferent, and it was unknown whether he listened or not. At this time, several more people stepped forward to challenge. Still nothing. They still underestimated the harm of the evil soul beast. It is not as simple as they imagined to eradicate the evil soul beast. Let me give it a try. Bibi Dong suddenly stood up and walked to Liu Chang'an's position. During this period, the Spirit Hall has proved itself with actions. The Soul Master world has a very good impression of the Spirit Hall. Seeing Bibi Dong appear, many people focused their eyes. Someone whispered, the Pope has a close relationship with the boss, so the boss should be able to let him off the hook, right? After all, what do you want to say? You don't know yet, do you? In fact, the Pope's confession to the boss was a misunderstanding. At the time, the Pope, is that so? I was wondering how a noble woman like the Pope could say such a thing. Many people took the opportunity to whitewash Bibi Dong. Otherwise, Bibi Dong's fiery confession to the tavern owner would have become a stain on her life. Now that the time, place and people are right, Bibi Dong's road to whitewashing is going very smoothly. Listening to the voice in her ear, Bibi Dong smiled at the initiate who damaged her reputation at the time. Bibi Dong was only grateful in her heart. If it weren't for Liu Chang'an's punishment, she would not have been able to experience the sufferings of the world, and she would have kept Zhu Zhuqing and that incident in her heart, and she would probably never have peace in her life. Now, she has completely let it go. Boss, I want to challenge the worldly wine. Bibi Dong smiled. Good luck. Liu Chang'an smiled slightly. He had a hunch that Bibi Dong would succeed at this time. Bibi Dong drank 3 bowls of earthly wine and closed her eyes to savor it. Her demure appearance was completely different from the last challenge. She was very quiet, not like drinking, but more like tasting tea. The Pope with her eyes closed was less majestic and overbearing, and more beautiful and peaceful, which made people sigh for the good years. Ding! Bibi Dong successfully challenged the earthly wine. The host was rewarded with the peak power of the first level god, and a new wine product, B2C Endless Wine. The unit price to the outside world is 50,000 gold soul coins, and the effects are as follows, at the same time as the voice sounded in Liu Chang'an's mind. Bibi Dong also opened her eyes. She smiled and bowed slightly to Liu Chang'an, saying, "Thank you, boss." Liu Chang'an shook his head slightly and said, "Your wish has been fulfilled. The evil soul beast will emit a specific wave that everyone can sense within 100 miles, and it will not be able to increase its strength by devouring it within 10 years. Also, do you want to taste the B2C Endless Wine?" Liu Chang'an suddenly asked. Okay. Bibi Dong realized that this was a new wine that had never appeared before. The boss specifically mentioned it to her, and he must have his intentions. On the other side, Bibi and other fierce beasts had just killed an evil soul beast. The dark demon evil god tiger muttered, "Bibi, if we look for them one by one, how long would it take to find them? Otherwise, Hania, their total number is limited, sooner or later one day." Bibi suddenly stopped, with a look of surprise on her face. The other fierce beasts also changed their expressions. They all sensed the evil soul beasts within 100 miles. So it can be done this way. Daitian, let's return to the tavern quickly. Maybe we can weaken the power of those evil soul beasts. Bibi said in surprise. Okay. Daitian was reluctant. He and Bibi were the only ones who could successfully challenge the beasts, but Bibi wanted to waste the chance on such a thing. Chapter 117 Bridget's Final Arrival, B2C Wine. Bibi Dong's eyes flickered when she heard Liu Chang'an read out the name of the new wine. Somehow, she realized that it was related to her. 50,000 gold soul coins were sent out, and a small black jar appeared. Bibi Dong opened the cork, and a bitter taste came out. Her hands softened and she almost dropped it. Too bitter. It's not just bitter on the taste buds, this taste seems to evoke the bitterness in people's hearts. At the first few rows of wine tables, everyone frowned. The previous fine wine was delicious and fragrant, which made people salivate and imagine. Only this bitter sea wine, even if they were asked to drink it for free, they might not be willing. Bibi Dong looked at Liu Chang'an suspiciously. Is this also her punishment? Liu Chang'an nodded slightly. Try it. Bibi Dong exhaled, closed her sense of smell and taste, and poured it all into her mouth in one breath. Gong gong, the clear wine slid down Bibi Dong's slender jade neck and flowed into the attractive ravine. Bibi Dong's closed eyes suddenly opened and released her spirit. The bitter wine went into her throat, turned around, and finally turned into the most mellow taste. Even if she lost her sense of taste, she could still experience the beautiful taste. The most beautiful taste in the world. Not only the taste, the wine also evoked the shadow of Bibi Dong's past, but she was not afraid, but completely relieved. This sip of wine took her across the sea of suffering in her heart. On the other side of the sea of suffering is a new life. Bibi Dong was radiant, her soul power did not change, her appearance did not change, but her spirit and spirit changed. At this moment, she was sublimated from the inside out. No longer obsessed with the haze of the past. Thank you, boss. Bibi Dong bowed deeply, expressing her sincere gratitude. It is no exaggeration to say that Liu Chang'an can be called her reborn parents. Bibi Dong retreated to the table with a warm smile on her face, diluting the majesty and nobility. Many people looked at her secretly. Everyone in the spirit hall felt that the Pope seemed to have changed into a different person, as if there was a holy light behind him. Qian Renxue nodded slightly, quite satisfied. Bibi Dong returned to normal, and the spirit hall could work together. More importantly, Xiao Wu would have maternal love. Qian Renxue looked at the changes in Bibi Dong, and her eyes were slightly red. Mother and daughter are connected by heart. She could sense that after waiting for her mother who loved her, she could also nestle in her mother's arms like a child from an ordinary family. Your Highness, what's wrong with you? Meng Qingji suddenly asked. Qian Renxue was silent for a second, quickly restrained her emotions, and smiled bigly. Nothing, I just think that there is still hope for our empire, and the evil soul beast is not impossible to solve. Yes, there is a lot to be done. Meng Qingji said with a smile. Then, they were slapped in the face. After Bibi Dong, several more challengers came, including representatives of the lower four sects and Titan of the Power Clan, all of whom failed. It seemed that Bibi Dong's success was just a flash in the pan. The enthusiasm of the crowd fell again. Liu Chang'an was not surprised. How could the challenge of the worldly wine be successful? The failure of a group of people just now brought him a rich reward. All the soul rings were god-level soul rings. He didn't even want the million-year soul rings. With 10 circles of god-level soul rings, his consciousness also reached the level of a first-level god. Not a first-level god who had just broken through, such as Tang San and Qian Renxue, but the level of the fire god in the divine world, with the power to destroy half of the plane. Even if he was outside and encountered the true body of the sea god, he would not be in any danger. The sense of security was overflowing. In a short silence, Zhu Zhuqing instigated Liu Chang'an again, blinking and saying, "Boss, give me a chance. I will mobilize them. If I succeed in mobilizing them, how about letting me become a tavern maid?" Zhu Zhuqing looked at Liu Chang'an pitifully. Liu Chang'an was unmoved. The big cat's words sounded good, but if he really entered the tavern, he might make trouble. Tap, 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 a sound of footsteps suddenly sounded outside the tavern. A figure ran in quickly. The silence in the tavern was broken, and many people turned back to look at the person who came. "Bye, Miss Bibi is coming back." "Ha ha ha," the person who came shouted with surprise. Silence. Ermin roared. The person who came slightly bowed, shrank aside, and stopped talking. His words caused 1,000 waves. Knowing that Bibi was coming back, most people were ecstatic, as if they had waited for a savior. This is the appeal of Bibi. Poseidon frowned when he saw this, and felt that these people were crazy, or bewitched by the soul beast. If she didn't find out clearly, she couldn't relax. Before Miss Bibi comes, the 7 Treasures Glazed Tile sect will do its part first. Qian Renxue stood up and challenged on behalf of the sect. 9 Rong waved her fist and cheered, "Come on, Grandpa Qian." Qian Renxue had succeeded once, and this was his second challenge. He already had experience. After drinking the earthly wine, he closed his eyes and took a nap. His wish was simple, and then 20 evil soul beasts disappeared. And they were all 100,000 years old. Qian Renxue groaned and staggered forward. The people staring at him felt a jolt in their hearts. They were afraid that Qian Renxue would fail in the challenge. Qian Renxue took 1 foot forward and supported his body. 3, 2, 1. The last number came out. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. 20 evil soul beasts disappeared. In this way, how many innocent lives will be saved? Douluo clasped his fists and retreated to his position. Ding! Douluo successfully challenged the worldly wine. The host was rewarded with the sword, and upgraded the wine to the wine. The unit price is 30,000 gold soul coins, and the effect is as follows. Liu Chang'an nodded gently. Yes, now the only fine wines that can't be put on the table are the aphrodisiac wine and the acacia wine. Liu Chang'an looked at the others again, waiting for the next challenger. Douluo's success was very encouraging, but no one stepped forward to challenge. Liu Chang'an could understand their thoughts. Bridget is coming back. Once the savior in their hearts came back, they didn't need to take risks. In fact, since they had such an idea, they would not be able to succeed in the challenge. They could be said to have accidentally reduced the risk. A few minutes later, Bridget and other ferocious beasts came back from outside. Bridget was at the front, and as soon as she entered the door, she attracted the attention of almost everyone. She also knew the situation and hurried back, her pretty face rosy. Noticing that Liu Chang'an was also looking at her, the blush on her face became more intense, and she was so beautiful. Many men were fascinated by her. It's okay to be beautiful, but she is also kind-hearted, like a holy white paper, and they can't help but want to defile it. But, unfortunately, Bridget never paid attention to them from beginning to end. In Bridget's eyes, there was only Liu Chang'an. Bridget went straight to Liu Chang'an, but halfway, a figure blocked her. Chapter 118 Poseidon's question. Hey Bridget. Poseidon looked at Bridget, who was wearing a green dress and had an elegant temperament. She looked weak and tender, but she had a sense of compassion for the world. If she were a human, Poseidon would definitely think that she was a woman with great love. Unfortunately, she was a fierce beast. Although at this time, Bridget was a saint and a moral role model trusted by countless people. But no one can guarantee that Bridget will still be as reliable as she is now 10,000 years later or 100,000 years later. If not, then leaving Bridget alone now will cause future generations to suffer. Poseidon will never forgive himself. Bridget nodded slightly. Yes, I'm Bridget. You can deceive others, but you can't deceive me, fierce beast. I don't know what you are planning, but if you want to harm humans, I will kill you immediately. Poseidon said inhumanely. She was conducting an experiment to see if Bridget would reveal her true nature under high pressure. Bridget frowned slightly and shook her head, saying, I don't know what you mean. I don't need to prove anything to you. Everything I do is for my inner belief. Bridget wanted to bypass Poseidon. She didn't even know this gorgeous woman. Although the other party's soul power was very strong, she couldn't tell the depth. But she didn't really want to plan any benefits. No desire means strength. She came back here just to correct her mistakes. Poseidon was relentless and stood in front of Bridget again. What are you afraid of? Are you worried that I will find out your true thoughts? Fierce beast, you can't completely hide your heart, right? Poseidon continued to squeeze with words. She did this for the sake of the Soul Master world. However, it is estimated that not many people will appreciate her kindness, and may even blame her. Without waiting for others to support her, Ermin couldn't stand it anymore and stepped forward and said, Hey! You woman, don't block the tavern to do business. Otherwise, I don't care whether you are a woman or not, you will be beaten the same. Poseidon looked at Ermin again. Ermin is also a fierce beast, and his stay in the tavern is also a hidden danger. Poseidon also needs to eliminate this threat. Is it because she is a soul beast like you? Does the tavern really welcome visitors from all over the world, regardless of human or beast? I don't understand what a soul beast can do for the tavern. Poseidon stared at Ermin, but he was talking to Liu Chang'an. The emergence of the tavern is too unreasonable, and the fulfillment of wishes does not matter whether it is a soul beast or a soul master. This is also a puzzle. Poseidon must figure it out. Ermin listened to her, rolled up his sleeves, and said coldly, I think you want to fight. If you have the ability, let's go out and practice. I'll blow your head off. Ermin targeted a soul master like this. However, the customers in the tavern did not have the idea of hurting their own kind. More people supported Ermin. Mr. Ermin, teach this woman a lesson. How dare she treat Miss Bridget like that? It's so hateful. There is no humanity at all. Yeah, I can't listen to it anymore. The discussion became louder and louder. The faces of the people in the spirit hall were strange. If the Blue Silver Emperor had the reputation of Bibi, I'm afraid the spirit hall would not dare to do anything. After all, the spirit hall also has to consider its own reputation. Golden Crocodile Douluo lowered his head and looked at the table, now ashamed. He knew very well that Poseidon's actions were all for the sake of the Spirit Master world. This was also that justice he had claimed before. He even defeated Tang Ao and made him crazy with shame. But now, he has become another Tang Ao and has no remorse. Thank you for your kindness, but there is no hatred between me and this lady. Please don't have any malice towards her because of me. Biji softly rescued Poseidon. Poseidon narrowed his eyes slightly and thought to himself, is this beast trying to confuse himself? He has been on the Sea God Island for a long time and has a high status. Poseidon's arrogance has always made her incompatible with the atmosphere of the tavern. This is also the reason why everyone hates her. Of course, in the eyes of some people who understand her, she is even more impressed. Qian Renxue shook his head and sighed, secretly saying, Poseidon, you are still as pure as before, this is why Tang Chen and I both fell in love with you. Biji came to Liu Chang'an and smiled, Boss, I want to challenge the worldly wine. Okay. But I must remind you that your previous wish was almost not for yourself. And the price of the worldly wine later, you may not be able to afford it. Liu Chang'an said lightly. I know. Biji smiled lightly, with a firm look in her eyes. Miss Biji's subsequent challenge expenses, the 7 treasures glazed tile sect is willing to pay for it all. Nine Fengzi said loudly. As soon as the voice fell, the applause continued. Good job. You are worthy of being the richest man in the world. Just based on the spirit of Set Master 9, I will not envy the wealth of the 7 treasures glazed tile sect. If the money is not enough, I am willing to do my part. The tavern was noisy for a while. Everyone's enthusiasm was mobilized. They were all willing to pay for Biji's consumption. This cohesion is really terrible. People from the Spirit Hall and other forces saw this and had their own thoughts. A gleam of light flashed in Poseidon's eyes. At least for now, there is no darkness in Bridget's heart. She is sincerely considering the peace between the two races. Then, the culprit who let out the evil soul beast must be the tavern. Poseidon glanced at Liu Chang'an and guessed secretly. At this time, Bridget had already drunk 3 bowls of earthly wine. Bridget's alcohol tolerance was very poor, and 3 bowls of wine was already her limit. Her face, neck, and even thighs were all covered with a layer of light pink. But, she was not drunk. A pair of watery eyes, tender and affectionate, stared at Liu Chang'an's face. As if it contained thousands of words. 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, 1. Ding. Biji succeeded in challenging the earthly wine. The host was rewarded with the peak consciousness of the first level god, and the wine Acacia wine was upgraded to Acacia Daughter Red, with a unit price of 30,000 gold soul coins. The effect is as follows. Liu Chang'an was slightly surprised. Why would the new wine developed by Biji have such a useless effect? It actually makes the drinker understand his own marriage. What does a soul master need this thing for? Although he was surprised, Liu Chang'an said, Congratulations, Biji, you succeeded. Now, all evil soul beasts will not be able to rely on devouring to enhance their strength, and their minds will not be affected by evil energy. As soon as Liu Chang'an said this, Biji immediately relaxed, closed her eyes and threw herself on Liu Chang'an. At this time, Ziju came forward and hugged Biji. Abi, you succeeded. I knew you could do it. Ziju was as happy as a husky. Biji's eyes were still closed, but the corners of her mouth curled slightly, looking unhappy. There was silence in the tavern for a few seconds. Then a huge cheer broke out. Boiling. The crisis of the evil soul beast is over. The huge rock that weighed on the Soul Master world has been completely removed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 119. Blood Sickness Daughters Red Wine. Douluo Continent. Everywhere, wherever there are evil soul beasts, there are wonderful changes. A village slaughtered by evil soul beasts. A baboon's evil soul beast just put a person into its mouth, and its canine teeth have not yet closed. The murderous intent and madness in its eyes suddenly disappeared. It spit out the villagers who were already scared to death in its mouth, and looked at the village that it had destroyed in confusion. Roar. It turned out that I did it myself. Why would I do such a thing? These humans are not delicious. The baboon's evil soul beast spit a few times to dispel the urine smell in its mouth. The baboon's evil soul beast left the village like flying. In the ruins, the villagers who were frightened and collapsed on the ground gradually regained their mobility. Looking at the baboon's evil soul beast going away, they all showed ecstasy. Alive. We survived. Woo woo woo, Daddy, I want Daddy, great. We are still alive, then everything can be rebuilt. The ecstatic shouts and sad cries intertwined on this ruin. Similar situations occurred in many places. The evil soul beasts no longer had the urge to kill, nor did they have the ability to become stronger by devouring. Naturally, they would not venture to humans, nor would they kill weak soul beasts for fun. Unknowingly, the threat of the evil soul beasts disappeared. Long live Goddess Bridget. I love you, Goddess Bridget. You are my god. I'm Goddess Bridget's dog. ... In the tavern, all kinds of unrestrained voices rang out. They were so excited. They vented their inner emotions to their heart's content. Some even took off their coats and swung them wildly over their heads. Everyone was very excited. Erming's face sank, and he was about to shout and ask everyone to quiet down. Liu Chang'an shook his head at him and smiled. Give them a quarter of an hour, let them cheer as much as they want. Erming followed suit. Some brave people wanted to run to Bridget and lift her up. Ziji glared at them, scaring them. What do you want to do? The few people stood there awkwardly, staring at each other for a few seconds, and suddenly danced awkwardly. Dance can inspire people's inner happiness. They led everyone in the tavern to stand up and dance, then 3 or 5 people. After a few minutes, almost everyone stood up from their seats and danced. The tavern seemed to have become a dance floor. Even Nine Fengzi was no exception and danced with Nine Rongrong. In the spirit hall, Bibi Dong did not move, but glanced at Liu Chang'an from time to time. Now, Bibi Dong believes that the only real good man in the world is Liu Chang'an. Qian Renxue cleared his throat, moved closer to Poseidon, and looked at her eagerly. What are you looking at me for? If you want to dance, go and invite someone else. Poseidon refused coldly. Qian Renxue smiled awkwardly and said no more. As a celebration, the tavern has launched a new wine, Xiang Bathong, which is on sale at a special price. 10,000 gold soul coins are open to everyone, only today. Liu Chang'an said with a smile. As soon as he opened his mouth, the tavern suddenly became silent. After hearing his words, everyone's face showed surprise. Soon, many people sighed in disappointment. 10,000 gold soul coins are very high. Not all soul masters can afford it. Tonight's consumption will be paid for by the Spirit Hall. Bibi Dong suddenly said. Long live the Spirit Hall. The poor soul masters were sincerely grateful. Liu Chang'an explained the characteristics of the Acacia Girl red wine again. After listening to it, everyone was eager to try it and wanted to find out where their life's marriage was. Zhu Zhuqing took advantage of the position and tasted it first. She closed her eyes and savored it for a while. When she opened her eyes, she looked at Liu Chang'an with affection. Miss Zhu, have you seen your marriage? Someone shouted to join in the fun. Zhu Zhuqing stared at Liu Chang'an's face, smiled sweetly, and said loudly, my marriage is the boss. Boss. I like you so much. Just give in to me. Zhu Zhuqing boldly expressed her love and stared at Liu Chang'an fierily. At this moment, she put down all her burdens. She just wanted to express her feelings to Liu Chang'an. Pa pa pa, applause immediately rang out in the tavern. They all appreciated and encouraged Zhu Zhuqing's feat. Even Prince Diao of the Xingluo royal family did not show a trace of displeasure. Liu Chang'an laughed and said, you are drunk, be honest. I listened to you. If you let me go to bed, I will go to bed. If you let me rest, I will definitely rest. Anyway, I have chosen you for my whole life. Zhu Zhuqing said ambiguously. Zhu Zhuqing frowned. This shameless sister is so embarrassing. After Zhu Zhuqing, no one tasted it. There is still a long time today. What's the point of tasting it by yourself? They are just curious about the marriage partners of those proud girls. It's better to show love boldly like Zhu Zhuqing. In this way, they will have lively topics for a long time. They all looked at Bibi Dong, Poseidon, Biji and other beautiful women. After a few seconds, Bibi Dong suddenly stood up. Let me try it. Bibi Dong stepped forward. She ignored any gazes, and didn't even look at Liu Chang'an. She took the Xiang Bathong, drank it immediately, and then closed her eyes to feel it. She wanted to know if there was still a shadow of Yu Xiaogang in her heart. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, her spiritual sea was still hazy. There is no Yu Xiaogang. There is no place for that man in her heart. Just when Bibi Dong opened her eyes, a familiar face suddenly appeared in her spiritual sea, but it was so fleeting that she didn't see it clearly. Is it him? Do I still have a trace of affection in my heart? Bibi Dong was puzzled. She thought she would never fall in love again, but in fact there was still a chance. Your Holiness. Who is your marriage partner? Zhu Zhuqing was infected by the environment and was the first to shout out the problem. He was tricked. He thought everyone would shout, but in fact it was only him. Bibi Dong turned her head and gave him a cold look, a dead stare. Zhu Zhuqing sat down awkwardly and wilted. I don't have it. Bibi Dong raised her neck, glanced at Liu Chang'an proudly, and sat back in her seat. Everyone cheered in coordination to avoid a dull moment. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Liu Chang'an was confused. No, if you don't have it, then you don't have it. What's the point of looking at me? Will I be disappointed? Everyone looked at other stunning beauties again. Ziji pulled Bibi forward. At this time, Bibi had already woken up, so she was not too drunk. After Ziji finished drinking, she closed her eyes for a long time, longer than the previous 2 times, before opening her eyes. Azi, who is your marriage partner? Bibi asked curiously. Ziji scratched her head and said awkwardly, I didn't see anything. It seems that there is no one I like. Bibi chuckled and said, Azi, you are really straightforward. It's hard to think that you will fall in love with a man. Ziji snorted and pushed Bibi. Okay, you try it too. Bibi secretly glanced at Liu Chang'an and took the love wine. Poseidon looked at Liu Chang'an's position and shook his head slightly. Chapter 120 Poseidon's decision. After drinking it all in one gulp, the Acacia Daughter Red was similar to fruit wine, with a low alcohol content, but Bibi was still drunk. She looked at Liu Chang'an foolishly and said with a chuckle, Boss, Bibi was actually drunk. The worldly wine in front of her, combined with the Acacia Daughter Red, the 2 forces of alcohol completely intoxicated Bibi. The last time Bibi was drunk, she was very rude to Liu Chang'an. This time, Ziji looked at Bibi's drunken appearance, her eyes turned, and a plan came to her mind. She pulled Bibi's arm and said with a smile, Abi, who did you see? Bibi smiled foolishly, her face showing innocence. A finger poked Ziji's face. It's you, Azi, I saw you, hey. Ziji rolled her eyes and guided. What I mean is, who do you see in your heart? Ziji glanced at Liu Chang'an, twisting Bibi's neck to make her look at Liu Chang'an. Bibi glanced at Liu Chang'an and lowered her eyes. I didn't dare to look at Liu Chang'an anymore. Everyone in the tavern became extremely quiet, or even silent, with only a slight breathing sound, and a pin drop could be heard. They were all very curious. Did Goddess Bridget have a crush on someone? Although most people had a guess in their hearts. But what if? In the expectant eyes of everyone, Bridget pondered for a moment, and said foolishly, I saw the boss, Humph, the boss wants to confess to me, Bridget said, bolder, raised her eyes and looked at Liu Chang'an. The boss confessed to me. This voice was very loud. After Bridget finished speaking, she covered her little face, too embarrassed to see anyone. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Liu Chang'an was dumbfounded. How could this girl slander people? When did I confess to you? But he was still too late. When everyone in the tavern heard it, it was indeed related to the boss, and it was the boss who confessed to Goddess Bridget first. Goddess Bridget didn't say whether she agreed or not. This time, the whole tavern was boiling. Woohoo! The boss confessed his love to Goddess Bridget. The boss likes Goddess Bridget, and I like Goddess Bridget too. So, the boss and I are very similar. ... The tavern was boiling with excitement because of Bridget's misleading words. Seeing this, Liu Chang'an, whose reputation was damaged, shook his head slightly. On such a happy day, he did not spoil the fun and deliberately distance himself from the matter. He was not afraid of his own shadow. You confess your love to her? Zhu Zhuqing came close to him, with a hint of jealousy in her tone. Liu Chang'an's mouth twitched, and he asked back, do you think it's possible? Zhu Zhuqing was relieved. She and Liu Chang'an knew each other well. The other party had not confessed to her. If Bridget got this treatment, she would be jealous anyway. If it's up to me, why don't we let Bridget and the boss get married? Qian Jun laughed and patted the shoulder of the 10,000 monsters and suggested. Shut up. Daitian glanced at it. It's not that Daitian has feelings for Bibi now, but he can see that Liu Chang'an has not confessed to Bibi. Without this idea, he certainly can't make his own decision. The joyful atmosphere caused by Bibi lasted for about 10 minutes. After Bibi, several other beautiful women came forward to taste the worldly wine. After Uliana finished drinking, she threw a few coquettish eyes at Liu Chang'an. It goes without saying who her marriage partner is. Douluo looked confused and helpless at her grandfather, Douluo. Xiao was drunk, she became crazy and insisted on pulling Doing and Erming to dance. After drinking, Ling Yuanluo's pretty face was rosy, staring at Liu Chang'an infatuatedly. The old virgin for decades seemed to have awakened, and the look in her eyes when she looked at Liu Chang'an was creepy. Both sexes, don't you want to try this acacia girl red? Even if there is no marriage, the effect contained in it is very good. Even we can help. Qian Renxue came to both sexes with a glass of wine and laughed. Poseidon glanced at him calmly and said, "No need to drink, I know the result." Qian Renxue's eyes flashed with sadness. Poseidon said again, "Qian Renxue, you saw it, you should know better than me, this tavern is too mysterious and too powerful. He can easily create a powerful god." "Yes." Qian Renxue nodded. Poseidon's face became solemn, and he straightened his attitude and stared into Qian Renxue's eyes. "Then, let me ask you, what do you think of this tavern? What do you think? The boss is a god, Qian Renxue was the most devout believer of the god of angels, and he also has an instinctive awe of other gods. What's more, it's a god like the tavern owner who is almost omnipotent." Poseidon took a deep breath and said slowly, "Look, this god can have fun with the people now. This is great. But do you know why he came here? Do you know when he will leave? Do you know what kind of god he is? What if he wants to harm Douluo Continent? How will you deal with it? And he definitely has his own purpose for opening a tavern in this place. If I say he is an evil god directly, it would be too unkind. But if you think he is a good god, how many lives have been slaughtered by the evil soul beasts he released?" Poseidon stared at Qian Renxue's eyes, and Qian Renxue lowered his head and realized his mistake. He took the gods too seriously. Although Poseidon's considerations seemed harsh and unkind, this is what the strongest person on the continent should consider. If everyone on the continent follows the miracle and does not try to figure it out or reflect on it, it is absolutely self-destruction. The Soul Master world needs a responsible and capable leader like Poseidon. So, I must ask clearly, even if what I do will make this god angry. After saying this, Poseidon resolutely approached Liu Chang'an in front of the counter. Qian Renxue raised his hand, trying to grab Poseidon's sleeve, but his arm stopped in midair, and he finally caught nothing. The great priest, someone should step forward. Although what she did may not be in line with everyone's wishes, and even criticized by thousands of people. But she is right. Bibi Dong suddenly appeared beside Qian Renxue and commented. Qian Renxue looked at Bibi Dong seriously, let out a long breath, and smiled. "Bibi Dong, you really changed." Bibi Dong nodded and said, "People always change. If Poseidon violated the majesty of the tavern, the spirit hall can ask the boss for forgiveness for her." Qian Renxue looked at the beautiful figure that stopped in front of Liu Chang'an and sighed. Okay, on the side of the Seven Treasures glazed tile sect, Nine Fengzi naturally would not miss the scene of Poseidon looking for Liu Chang'an to question him. That woman is very strong. I should not be her match. Perhaps, she is one of the three peerless Luo, the high priest of Sea God Island, Poseidon. Qian Luo frowned and said slowly. Nine Fengzi hummed and smiled. "Uncle Qian, what do you think she wants to do? She has been on the island for a long time and is straightforward. I guess she wants to do something unpleasant." Qian Luo shook his head and said. Chapter 121 Going to the Sea. Poseidon resolutely came to Liu Chang'an. Although according to her judgment, her slight offense would not bring about a fatal blow. But this seemingly gentle man in front of her possessed terrifying power, enough to easily kill her in seconds, so how could she not panic? For the sake of the billions of lives in Douluo Continent, Poseidon mustered up his courage. At some point, the lively noises around disappeared, and hundreds of eyes were focused on Poseidon. Many people were malicious. They thought Poseidon was really ungrateful. "Boss, I have some questions for you." Poseidon spoke with a cold voice. Liu Chang'an took a sip of the wine, smiled slightly, and said, "What do you want to ask?" "I declare in advance that I will only answer questions that interest me, and I cannot guarantee to answer all of them." Poseidon nodded slightly, and she did not hesitate to ask, "Boss, are you a god from the god realm?" "Secret." "Boss, are you our ancestor, and did you become a god at level 100? "Secret." "Boss, what is your purpose in coming to Douluo Continent?" "Secret." Poseidon was a little confused. He didn't know anything when asked. She suspected that Liu Chang'an was deliberately making fun of her. And her 3 consecutive questions caused dissatisfaction among many people. They didn't care about the impact of Liu Chang'an and the Tavern on the continent. They only focused on the present. The Tavern was a great opportunity for them, and the boss was their benefactor. Naturally, no one wanted to see Poseidon being so rude. Poseidon didn't care about other people's opinions. After a few seconds of silence, she asked again, "Boss, why did you release the evil-souled beast? Was it intentional? Or was there another hidden reason?" As soon as this question came out, all the eyes that were looking at her unkindly fell silent. This topic is an unspoken taboo among everyone. The boss released the evil-souled beast, causing huge losses to the continent. From common sense, it must be evil. But if an omnipotent god is evil, how big a hidden danger will it be? No one wants to see this result. Poseidon now directly tore off this veil. Everyone straightened their expressions and was worried. Once Liu Chang'an gave an intentional answer, they would definitely panic for a while. That means that Liu Chang'an is chaotic and disorderly. He can bring miracles to all living beings now, and he may also bring down divine punishment at any time, killing countless lives. Secret. Liu Chang'an smiled slightly. Poseidon rubbed his eyebrows and looked at Liu Chang'an with a smile helplessly. She now sincerely suspected that Liu Chang'an was just perfunctory again. Will all questions have the answer of secret? At the same time, customers from all directions breathed a sigh of relief. It's good that it's not intentional. I have another question, and I hope to get the boss's answer. Boss, what do you think of the relationship between soul beasts and soul masters? Will you lean towards both sides? Poseidon said seriously. Liu Chang'an shook his head slightly. I said before that I will not intervene in the situation on the mainland. As long as you don't affect the Tavern, I won't take action. Poseidon hummed, pointed at himself and said, Boss, you should know that I am the spokesperson of the sea god. Now you let that god cut off the connection between me and the sea god. When the sea god finds out, he may come and may cause trouble for you. Trouble, Poseidon is testing. Will Liu Chang'an be in awe of Lord Sea God? When everyone heard this, most of them realized that this strong and beautiful woman was actually one of the strongest people on the mainland today. And she is also the High Priest of Sea God Island, serving Sea God. If the Tavern provokes such an enemy, will it attract Sea God? If something like that happened, it would definitely make the entire Soul Master world boil. Game between gods. Liu Chang'an shook his head, nothing. Outside the Tavern, he was at the peak of the first level god and was not afraid of the sea god. Inside the Tavern, he was invincible. Not to mention a sea god come in, even if the gods came, as long as he was in the Tavern, he would not be afraid at all. And his relaxed and confident tone. Poseidon's pupil shrank instantly, and she did not feel a trace of hesitation or consideration. It seemed that for Liu Chang'an, the threat of the sea god was not much greater than the barking of a wild dog on the roadside. Such confidence and self-confidence. Poseidon suddenly panicked and worried about the sea god. Everyone could feel the calmness in Liu Chang'an's bones when they heard it. A god came, so what? That kind of natural elegance cannot be matched by any amount of wild words. They came to a conclusion that the boss's strength was far superior to the sea god. Nonsense. The boss created a first-level god battle angel Michael. Poseidon pondered for a moment, put aside the worries in his mind, sighed, and said faintly, One last thing, boss, do you know what kind of impact those evil soul beasts have on the ocean? Oh? I would like to hear more about it. Liu Chang'an asked curiously. Poseidon said in a compassionate tone. Compared to the continent, the ocean is larger and has more soul beasts, but humans have not set foot in many areas. In the ocean, there are two notorious races, deep-sea demon whales and evil demon killer whales. They devour countless creatures every day and enjoy killing. The birth of evil soul beasts is absolutely indispensable. And after their strength increases, even I will find it difficult to catch them. They will create more killings. As long as they are still alive and have strength. Poseidon's voice is sonorous and powerful, very contagious. Her words carry the vastness of the sea, as if there is a sea breeze blowing. Everyone seemed to see a group of suffering sea soul beasts. I couldn't help but feel sympathy. Liu Chang'an heard it, but it was completely the opposite. What emerged in his mind was a group of cute black and white creatures, killer whales known as giant pandas in the sea. The evil killer whale clan was naturally born from killer whales. And the killer whales are not wrong for their nature of killing for fun. But, what is puzzling is that they are friendly to humans. There is a rumor that killer whales look at humans like humans look at kittens and puppies, both are cute creatures. So killer whales love humans. Liu Chang'an loves cute things, and when he thought of the giant pandas in the sea, he was moved. In addition, he also knew a fact that nature has a strong ability to self-regulate, and the evil killer whales are still killing within the range of natural tolerance. Otherwise, if the ecological balance is destroyed, the evil killer whale clan will naturally decrease. Then, Poseidon's accusation against the evil killer whale is actually a bit problematic. Then let's go and take a look together. Liu Chang'an smiled. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Everyone in the tavern looked at Liu Chang'an in surprise. Liu Chang'an repeated, "Does anyone want to go get some fresh air? It's free round trip." As he spoke, Liu Chang'an drew a circle in the air. The next second, space gates suddenly appeared in the tavern. Behind each space gate was the ocean. Chapter 122. Evil Killer Whale, God Realm. One day in God Realm is 1 year in the lower world. Poseidon escaped from the control of Poseidon and spent a few days in the lower world, but it was just a few minutes in God Realm. In a blue palace. Blue and red figures were talking. Suddenly, the blue figure was stunned for a moment and asked in confusion, "Wait, Shura, the inheritor should be released in advance. My spokesperson is gone." Gone? A tall figure with a stern look frowned and looked at Poseidon. He is the sure god, who can emit a murderous intent to destroy the world without revealing a trace of breath. Poseidon spread his hands, confused and said, "Yeah, it's strange. My spokesperson is diligent and hard-working, and he is also a top-notch strength in the lower world. How could he disappear out of thin air? And his soul should come to me, right?" Azura God smiled coldly and said, "I said before that you are skirting the law by selecting the successor in that way. Since this kind of thing has happened, let it go. We in the God realm cannot interfere too much in the lower world." Poseidon shook his head and said, "No, I came from Douluo Continent after all. Naturally, I have to leave good fortune for future generations. Besides, I'm also tired of life in the God realm and want to go around. So, since someone dares to attack my spokesperson, don't blame me for bullying the weak. It's just right to stimulate them and see if I can inspire a few good seedlings." Poseidon clapped his hands, suddenly leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. A divine thought incarnation left the God realm. Azura God shook his head, did not stop it, but cast his eyes in the direction of Poseidon's divine thought. The sea god wants to leave the God realm and wander around, so why doesn't he want to? The sea god is the one who is breaking the rules now. If there is a good seedling, don't blame him for intercepting it. The sea. The sea in Douluo Continent is also much larger than the land. Liu Chang'an opened the space gate and appeared directly on an island. The island is lush with plants, the edge of the sand is golden, the waves are layered, and the vast sea is all around. As soon as everyone appeared, the sea breeze hit them. Cool. This is the sea. Someone screamed. Many people showed sighs. Even soul masters would not go to coastal cities to see the sea on purpose. They are intoxicated by the magnificent scenery of the ocean. Zhu Zhuqing spread her arms, showing her full chest. The sea breeze blew her short hair back, and she said loudly, "What a refreshing sea breeze. I like it here." "Thank you, boss." The other women were also full of novelty. Poseidon frowned and said nothing. Liu Chang'an's control of time and space was too desperate. This move meant that Liu Chang'an could appear anywhere. How powerful would his divine sense be? Could it cover the entire Douluo Continent? Moreover, he was not afraid of the threat from the sea god. Liu Chang'an looked at the depths of the sea and said with a smile, "Everyone, if you're interested in solving a case with me, you can go up that cliff and see more clearly. Has the evil killer whale really become stronger and endangered the ecology of the sea because of the invasion of evil energy?" Liu Chang'an immediately stepped up to the cliff next to him. The Zhu sisters, Bibi Dong and other women followed him, followed by representatives of major forces in an orderly manner. Soon, they came to the edge of the cliff, and 7 or 8 meters below was a vertical ocean. Poseidon asked in confusion, "Boss, what are you bringing us here for?" The evil killer whales were a major scourge to the ocean before the evil energy appeared. Now it is even worse. I can let the sea soul beasts tell you how they were slaughtered by the evil killer whales. Poseidon was about to say more, but Liu Chang'an waved his hand, interrupted her, shook his head slightly, and said, "Before that, let's take a look at the criminals you mentioned." Poseidon said in a deep voice, "If they see so many creatures on this island, they will most likely overturn this island, intimidate us, and kill us just for fun. Taking killing for fun doesn't sound like a good soul beast." When the people born on the mainland heard this, they drew an image of a group of dark forces in the ocean in their hearts. A few minutes later, a white wave suddenly appeared on the sea not far away. Here they are. Are they? Of course they are. The boss said they will show up, so that's for sure. Look. They are, fuck. That's a sea turtle. They are playing with the sea turtle. ... A group of people shouted excitedly. In the distance, beneath the white waves was a group of large fish several meters long, black and white, making cheerful noises from time to time. The evil killer whales. Their huge tails, like large palm leaves, rushed out of the sea and slapped a big turtle. Bang! A dull sound appeared. The big turtle then spun straight up to the sky. It flew nearly 100 meters and became a black dot before falling from the air. When it was about to fall into the sea, another evil killer whale rushed out of the water, swung its big tail, and whipped the sea turtle away again. This group of evil killer whales completely treated the sea turtle as a ball and played with it for fun. It was too bad. Everyone who saw this scene had different expressions. Although we didn't see the scene of the evil killer whales killing indiscriminately, they are obviously different from ordinary soul beasts. Other soul beasts hunt mostly for food or because they are threatened. But what the evil killer whales are showing now is for fun. See? The turtle is dead. And because they have relatively high intelligence and vision, in order to choose a suitable turtle, they will kill hundreds of them before they can choose a suitable one. Poseidon explained coldly. These were all said by the king of the demon soul great white shark when chatting with her. Poseidon's words made everyone more convinced. Could it be that the ocean has been overwhelmed by this group of black forces? They are coming. Someone exclaimed. Everyone quickly turned their attention to the evil killer whale tribe in the distance. At this time, the evil killer whale tribe discovered the people on the cliff. They made cheerful sounds and quickly approached the cliff. At the same time, an evil killer whale swung its tail hard, and the turtle was smashed to pieces. And just wait and see, when they come, they will definitely find ways to kill us. Poseidon sneered. She saw through the sinister intentions of those black forces. Everyone was not nervous at all. Those evil killer whales looked like 10,000-year-old beasts. But, even if they were 100,000-year-old beasts, with the boss around, they would not be nervous at all. And the evil killer whales swam over and stopped under the cliff. They did not burst out with soul power, nor did they show any aggressiveness. On the contrary, they rolled on the sea, revealing their white bellies, and jumped high like carps, splashing large pieces of water, and rushed towards the people on the edge of the cliff. And the sound made by the evil killer whales was like laughing. They only exuded kindness. There was no hostility at all. Could it be fake? Poseidon was numb. She was a little confused about the current situation. Chapter 123 Calling for external aid. The notorious evil killer whales in the sea are as cheerful as a group of huskies when facing humans. They have no hostility at all and are full of affection and love. Something is wrong. Poseidon blinked. Is Xiao Wu lying to him? At this time, everyone was confused. The evil killer whales are not as scary as Poseidon said. Could it be that Poseidon is lying? The powerful 10,000-year-old beast is having fun, and its appearance is still cute. Everyone crowded to the edge of the cliff to watch the fun. At this moment, there was a sudden cry. Help! A soul master stepped on the air and fell from the cliff. Everyone was shocked and didn't react. They watched the soul master fall into the sea. It's over. It's over. Someone thought pessimistically. Soul beasts that are close to humans will also want to kill when they are approached and offended by humans. What's more, this group of evil killer whales. Plop, the soul master fell under the sea, and several evil killer whales rushed over. Everyone seemed to see the scene of blood dyeing the sea red. Poseidon snorted coldly, and the 9 soul rings suddenly appeared. She was about to use her soul skills, but suddenly stopped and looked at the scene below in surprise. Everyone thought that the soul master who was doomed to die was carried out of the sea by an evil killer whale. And the evil killer whales laughed. The evil killer whales rushed to carry the soul master, rubbing the soul master gently with their fins and backs to express their joy. This feeling is like a group of people meeting a cute kitten. They all want to rub it. The soul master laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, I'm not dead. They seem to like me very much. Woo woo woo, I've grown up so big, and this is the first time I feel love besides my relatives." Everyone looked at the soul master who lacked love with sympathy. At the same time, their eyes became more and more interested. It seems very interesting to ride an evil killer whale and swim in the sea. Boss? Someone asked tentatively. Liu Chang'an nodded and smiled. Don't worry, they don't mean to hurt you. With Liu Chang'an's assurance, everyone immediately jumped into the sea like dumplings. Plop, plop. After a few seconds, nearly half of the people jumped off the cliff. And the evil killer whales shouted more happily, like children who got toys, swimming around the Soul Masters, and when they were in the mood, they carried the Soul Masters to play. This scene, in the eyes of Poseidon, was a mess. It was completely contrary to her past cognition. Isn't it said that the evil killer whales are evil forces in the ocean, and they can't help but go forward to kill any soul beast they encounter? Why did they become obedient when they met these Soul Masters? Poseidon looked at Liu Chang'an and asked in confusion. Boss, are you controlling them? Liu Chang'an shook his head slightly, became interested, and curled his lips and said, not so. Since it is a trial, now, let our defendant talk. Liu Chang'an pointed with one hand, and a beam of light shone on the largest evil killer whale among them. This is the leader of the small tribe, about 70,000 years old. It can't speak, but Liu Chang'an gave it this ability. Ah. It's so cool. I'm so happy. I actually met so many cute little ones. Woohoo, I'm such a good leader. I let you all get in touch with the little cuties. You should all be grateful to me. The leader of the evil killer whale chattered like a chatterbox. The cheerful atmosphere was silent for a moment. The evil killer whales and the Soul Masters were all stunned. The evil killer whale can speak. And it chatters like a village aunt. Who are the little cuties? Obviously, these Ocean Street guys are cuter, right? Poseidon's eyes twitched, and she realized it after listening to the words of the evil killer whale leader. Her accusation is likely to be unfounded. In the minds of most people, the definition of good and bad soul beasts is generally based on human self-centeredness. Just like beneficial insects and pests. Although the evil killer whales are notorious in the sea, they have never harmed humans. Instead, they are very friendly to humans. Most of the human views on them are positive. It's like if your kitten is lost and eats many birds and insects outside, the owner will not blame you at all. Can I speak? Have I become a 100,000-year-old beast? This must be the good luck brought by the little cuties. Woohoo, I am so touched, I love you so much. The leader of the evil killer whales started to chatter again. Liu Chang'an interrupted at this time. Okay, leader of the evil killer whales, now I want to explain the situation to you. This time we came, as soon as Liu Chang'an spoke, he automatically became the center of the world. The eyes of the evil killer whales and Soul Masters were all focused on him. The leader of the evil killer whales did not speak either. He patiently listened to Liu Chang'an's explanation. So I didn't become a 100,000-year-old beast? The leader of the evil killer whales sighed. And you are so cute. The leader of the evil killer whales made a happy cry. Now it's the trial phase. Liu Chang'an reminded. The evil killer whale leader didn't care and asked curiously. Are you trying this? Okay, by the way, are you very powerful? How about comparing with the gods of our ocean? Liu Chang'an smiled and said, I think I'm stronger. Wow. So powerful. The evil killer whale leader exclaimed, but it was not shocking, more like a friendly cooperation. It's like some cat slaves among humans called cat masters. Similar to role-playing, it's the reason why pets are loved. Liu Chang'an was too lazy to correct its perception and said, Poseidon, you speak first and point out your accusations against the evil killer whale clan. What? That female is the backer of the hateful Xiao Wu? Although you are cute, I hate you. The evil killer whale leader said angrily. Poseidon took a deep breath, suppressed his anger, and said, Do you kill all the sea creatures you see? You'll kill for fun. The leader of the evil killer whale said frankly. Yes. They are very fun. But if we are tired or not in the mood, we will let them go. After hearing its response, everyone felt that this group of cute big creatures seemed to have some evil tendencies. However, they did not hate the evil killer whales for this reason. After all, in this regard, humans actually do much more excessive things. Why? Poseidon asked coldly. Because it's fun. The evil killer whale said as a matter of course. Killing creatures just because it's fun. Poseidon suppressed his anger. Who made them not fun? The leader of the evil killer whale replied frankly. There was silence. The attitude of taking it for granted made everyone blameless. After a while, a voice broke the silence. Actually, this is nothing, right? The ocean is not that dangerous. His voice represented the voice of most people. Poseidon realized that what she was most worried about had happened. No one else cared about the dangers of the ocean that she had exaggerated. Wait a moment, a sea soul beast will come to sue you. Poseidon placed his hope on Xiao Wu. Chapter 124 Trial Result. Under the cliff, there was the laughter of people and soul beasts. No matter how the evil killer whales, a group of ocean street scoundrels, harmed the sea soul beasts, at least they were sincere to the soul masters. Just like humans eat countless pigs, cattle and sheep every year, but when facing kittens and puppies, they still have a protective mood. Bosex's face was solemn, looking at the sea soul beasts below, his heart was ups and downs. Judging from the current situation, soul masters who were not born in the ocean cannot empathize with the ocean at all, and will not judge the evil killer whale clan. Will this group of evil beings be allowed to go unpunished? Bosex can only hope that Xiao Wu can convince Liu Chang'an. She is not good at persuading in a low-profile manner. After all, in the past few decades, she has been high above as a high priest, and she has the final say. About a quarter of an hour later, a white sea lion suddenly appeared on the sea surface in the distance. It came straight to the cliff. It can be seen that what broke through the sea surface was a sail-like fin. This iconic part is a shark at first glance. One of the three overlords in the ocean, the demon soul great white shark. As they approached, the evil killer whales began to get agitated. Fuck him. Those little guys dare to come and pick a fight when we are happy. We must beat them. Damn it. Everyone, come together. The leader of the evil killer whales shouted. The evil killer whales made a banging sound, and they were eager to fight. Quiet. Liu Chang'an said. His voice carried a peaceful power, like a requiem, and the evil killer whales immediately calmed down and stopped shouting for fighting. This power was too unsolvable. The demon soul great white sharks in the distance seemed to sense an unmatched risk, and turned around and ran away. Seeing this, Poseidon said helplessly, "Come back, Xiao Wu, there is no danger." Poseidon spoke, and then called the demon soul great white sharks back. The demon soul great white sharks also swam to the bottom of the cliff and were in the same sea area as the evil killer whales. Under the same age limit, they are not the opponent of the evil killer whales, but now they have the support of the 100,000-year soul beast Xiao Wu, so they are naturally not afraid, and even want to kill this group of evil killer whales. It's disgusting. You'd better be careful. If you make me unhappy, you're all done. Xiao Wu showed his fangs and said coldly. The leader of the evil killer whales said disdainfully, "Xiao Wu, stop bragging. We are not afraid of you. If it weren't for the warnings of the little cutties, you would have been torn to pieces by us now. Who is afraid of who? If you don't accept it, let's fight now." Xiao Wu was anxious and eager to try. "Quiet, Xiao Wu, the current situation is like this." Poseidon quickly explained the current situation. Xiao Wu fell into silence after listening. His head was a little confused. This tavern owner turned out to be a god. If he was a god, why would he indulge the evil killer whales? Shouldn't he send down his divine power and kill them directly? Xiao Wu now knew that she had to do things according to the will of the tavern owner. She had experience, after all, she had served the previous sea god. Xiao Wu looked at Liu Chang'an on the cliff and complained, "God, boss, the evil killer whales are a disaster to the ocean. They are guilty of too great a crime. They should be executed immediately. You are the ones who are guilty. A bunch of brainless idiots." The leader of the evil killer whales cursed immediately. The evil killer whales below echoed one after another, and the sound of anging was endless. It was obvious that they were cursing. Silence. Liu Chang'an said lightly. A divine power enveloped the sea soul beasts and they stopped shouting. They now realized that Liu Chang'an, the god, was genuine and had the ability to decide their life and death. Be more specific, and it would be better if there is data to support it. Liu Chang'an said to Xiao Wu. Since it is a case, it is natural to talk about evidence. You can't just make a judgment based on one-sided statements. Xiao Wu was stunned for a moment. Evidence? I'm talking about evidence. I won't lie, your oral statement cannot be used as evidence. Liu Chang'an shook his head. Ah? Xiao Wu was dumbfounded. She was an honest sea soul beast. Why didn't the boss believe her? The evil killer whale leader laughed and said, "Xiao Wu, you are framing us. You should be punished more severely. Just say that you, the demon soul great white sharks, are a bunch of idiots. If it weren't for the sea god, you would have been eaten by us long ago." Ha ha, no. I don't need to threaten you. You're so mad. You reckless man. Xiao Wu was so angry that she raised the waves and rushed to the evil killer whale leader. The pressure of the 100,000-year soul beast burst out. The evil killer whales nearby were all panicked. Even if their racial advantage was stronger than the demon soul great white shark, they were powerless in the face of the absolute gap in strength. The entire sea was stirred by the waves raised by Xiao Bai. The pressure of the 100,000-year soul beast was overflowing. The sky seemed to become dark. "Who is afraid of you?" The evil killer whale leader shouted unconvinced and rushed to Xiao Bai. In the first confrontation, Xiao Bai easily suppressed the leader of the evil killer whale. Her white body was so hard that the teeth of the leader of the evil killer whale could not bite a wound on it, and Xiao Bai swam to avoid its big tail. Xiao Bai bit the evil killer whale leader's fin fiercely and tore out a large piece of meat. "Stop!" Liu Chang'an's voice became cold. Xiao Bai and the leader of the evil killer whale stopped at the same time. The vast divine power enveloped them, and the two sea soul beast tribes did not dare to move immediately. The divine power is like a prison. How dare the 100,000-year soul beasts make trouble? Xiao Bai and the leader of the evil killer whale trembled. "Xiao Bai, you launched an attack without authorization. Considering that this is not a formal court, but my wing, I will keep it for you for the time being. If there is a next time," Liu Chang'an looked down at Xiao Bai and said. In fact, outside the tavern, he is not omniscient and omnipotent. The punishment of Xiao Bai can only be done on the skin. Instead of making it bloody, it is better to put it aside. Xiao Bai was terrified and didn't dare to do it again. Seeing this, Liu Chang'an retracted his divine power and said slowly, "Judgment is about evidence. If it's just one-sided, I won't punish you." Liu Chang'an didn't think the evil killer whale tribe could commit much killing. Among soul beasts, the higher the tribe, the rarer the number, like a pyramid. If the evil killer whale tribe really kills too many, their own number will decrease in the end. "I know, boss," Xiao Bai said disappointedly. Poseidon's face twitched and it hurt a little. This stupid Xiao Bai said one thing after another to him back then, as if the sea soul beasts were living in dire straits. Now he can't even produce evidence. His face is lost too. Being stared at by Poseidon, Xiao Bai suddenly said, "Wait, boss, I don't have any evidence about the evil killer whale now. But the other bad guy definitely has evidence, and it's not far away. I'll take you there." Chapter 125. Deep Sea Demon Whale King. Xiao Bai swore to mention the Deep Sea Demon Whale King. Liu Chang'an thought that he had nothing to do, so he followed him. At the same time, he also wanted to open up business and make a name for himself in the ocean. When going to the deep sea, there were fewer customers willing to follow. Generally, they were people like Dai Tian, Bibi Dong, and Nine Fengzi who were either powerful or had high status. They didn't necessarily like the deep sea environment, but just wanted to follow Liu Chang'an. The people who stayed behind were still playing with the evil demon killer whales. After a while, everyone began to talk about the divine power Liu Chang'an had just displayed. "Oh my god. Although the boss didn't target me just now, I was almost scared to death just by sensing the great power. It's so powerful. Who said it wasn't?" With the boss's momentum, the titled Douluo is no different from an ant in front of him, right? Of course, when everyone thought of the pressure released by Liu Chang'an, they looked in awe. At this time, a voice suddenly sounded. "Do you know the person who released that breath just now?" On the edge of the cliff, a man in green armor appeared at some point, with long blue-green hair and a faint smile on his lips, looking down at the people below. Although he was smiling, in the eyes of the crowd, he was like a mountain. Always alert, they are only worthy of looking up to that man. This feeling has only appeared in Liu Chang'an. God. This one is definitely a god. Plop, someone fell into the sea from the back of the evil killer whale. One day, they actually saw another god. And unlike the mysterious boss, as soon as this god appeared, their minds immediately emerged with the other party's identity, the god of the sea. After all, the god of the sea is also a huge belief in Douluo Continent. "Lord God of the Sea, are you friends with the boss?" a soul master asked bravely. The god of the sea smiled and shook his head and said, "Not yet, but it may be soon." "So, do you know where he went?" Asking this question, the god of the sea was quite embarrassed. They are all gods, but they still have to rely on this group of mortals. Liu Chang'an's spatial manipulation ability is really too strong. "Boss, everyone rushed to explain to the sea god. The sea god listened with a smile and sorted out the current situation. He glanced at the evil killer whale on the sea with a smile, and flashed away. Now that he knew where Liu Chang'an was going, he naturally had to ask why he kidnapped his high priest. Seeing the sea god leave, the people on the sea were silent for a few seconds, and then a heated discussion broke out again. Who do you think is stronger, the sea god or the boss? Of course it's the boss. The boss is invincible. Nonsense. Although we are grateful to the boss, we can't lie with our eyes open, right? The boss gives me a feeling that he is not as vast and broad as the sea god. Everyone talked about it, and no one could convince anyone. The deep sea area where there is no sun. In the darkness. Suddenly, a circle of light appeared, stretching out to space, and the seawater expanded outward to form a bubble-like scale. Then, a group of people appeared inside. Naturally, it was Liu Chang'an and his party. Below the location where they appeared was a huge deep-sea demon whale with a body length of 200 meters. Its whole body was a sapphire color. There were two huge eyes on its head, one with a diameter of 3 meters and the other was blind. Of course, in the dark deep sea, people with weaker soul power could not detect its existence. The location where they appeared was right next to the blind eye of the deep-sea demon whale king. The deep-sea demon whale king had not yet discovered that there were a group of uninvited guests around him. Looking at the huge beast, everyone was stunned. Emperor Qian sighed. This guy has survived 9 heavenly tribulations. Even if I was back then, I might not have been able to reach this point. Emperor Qian sincerely admired the deep-sea demon whale king, worthy at being a soul beast that once challenged the sea god. This perseverance alone surpassed almost all soul beasts. 900,000 years, everyone was stunned. In their eyes, a soul beast of 100,000 years was the ceiling. Now there is another one of 900,000 years. Xiao Wu shouted, "Boss, this guy is it. Every time they're hungry, they will devour many lives. They are more evil than the evil killer whale." Xiao Wu's voice attracted the attention of the deep-sea demon whale king. The huge body rotated on the spot, and the deep-sea demon whale king's intact eyes looked at Liu Chang'an and others. A gloomy questioning voice appeared. "Human, who are you? What do you want to do here?" The deep-sea demon whale king recognized Poseidon and Xiao Wu, so he did not act immediately. He could see that even Poseidon, who he was afraid of, could not rank first among this group of people, but was next to a young man. So, he chose to talk nicely. Xiao Wu was shocked and said, "Deep-sea demon whale king, this is not your character at all. We suddenly appeared in your territory, shouldn't you swallow us all in one bite? Just like before, boring." The deep-sea demon whale king said coldly. "You." Xiao Wu was furious. The reason why she spared no effort to send the evil killer whale and the deep-sea demon whale to the west was for the development of the demon soul great white shark tribe. In the vast ocean, they are nominally the 3 hegemons. But the demon soul great white shark is actually the 3rd. To put it bluntly, the demon soul great white shark tribe is also on the menu of the first 2. Xiao Wu must find a way to kill the first 2. Xiao Wu shook his big tail and said, "Boss, you heard it, this guy didn't deny it. Every time he opens his mouth, he will swallow many creatures." Liu Chang'an nodded slightly, his eyes calm, observing the deep-sea demon whale king. More than 900,000 years of cultivation, but its real age is only 1/3 of it, and most of its cultivation is obtained by swallowing. Liu Chang'an is willing to judge to see if the other party has caused an innumerable impact on the nature of heaven and earth. Unlike Xiao Wu and Poseidon, who take the perspective of sea soul beasts. The evil killer whale kills countless people, but it will not affect the marine ecology, so he will not take action, even though the other party has obtained evil energy and will be more destructive. "Are you a god?" The deep-sea demon whale king stared at Liu Chang'an cautiously and suddenly asked. "I guess so," Liu Chang'an said. The deep-sea demon whale king suddenly became nervous. He had been blinded by the sea god and knew the power of the gods. He said in a deep voice, "Are you here to kill me?" "Not necessarily. To be precise, I'm a tavern owner. I came out this time because someone accused me that the evil energy released by the tavern destroyed the marine ecology." Liu Chang'an smiled and explained patiently. "Did you release that energy?" The deep-sea demon whale king's voice was filled with astonishment. Although he did not accept that energy, many of his descendants absorbed it and made great progress in their strength. He thought it was another masterpiece of the gods. Unexpectedly, it was the person in front of him. The deep-sea demon whale king suddenly had a premonition. It seemed that the opportunity had come. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.